like Zimbabwe. It's a ridiculous thing for people to say, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. But one of the things that we've seen in Zimbabwean cricket is that it's fallen off a cliff. I mean, in 1999, they were one of the better teams in the World Cup. They were unlucky not to make the semi-finals. So it would be a great shame if South Africa stopped being a powerhouse in world cricket. I mean, it's a game that only 12 teams now play Test cricket. That may expand, but as we see with the big three of England, India, and Australia, the teams outside of that elite cluster need as much help as they can get, and they need to help themselves as much as they can. South Africa not tapping into the very deep reservoir of black African talent is a complete missed opportunity. And I hope what has happened this last year with the terrible World Cup, with fighting between the board and the players' union, the hammering in India, Graham Smith replacing a black chief executive, not because the black chief executive was black, but because he was completely incompetent and didn't deserve to be there. I beg your pardon, not Graham Smith, Jacques Paul replacing the CEO. I hope this is a bit of a wake-up call that things do need to change, and they're not changing organically. We can't just trust that the black middle class will produce enough talent on its own, that as you say, not representation, but that the cricket teams at the elite level more accurately more accurately reflect society in South Africa. That is not happening fast enough. So yeah, hopefully a wake-up call. Hopefully we begin 2020 with a renewed focus that things need to change, and that young kids coming through the system can look at the Proteas and say, that is a team that I feel accurately reflects who I am and where I come from. And that goes for white people. And that goes for white people too. You know, it's important for white people to look at their sports teams and see a majority black team. I think it's important. One of the transformation narratives is, you know, it always focuses it focuses on the young black kid in the township looking at the team. But I think it's important for the white kid growing up in a privileged society, in a privileged house, going to a good school, to look at the team and say, that team also reflects the society that I live in. Because it's too easy for white kids. Myself, when I was growing up, I could look at the Springboks in rugby or the Proteas in cricket and say, wow, this is a pretty white country. And I think that created a bit of a warped sense when I was growing up. I think it's important that young white kids also see majority blacks.
No, it's a very important thing you say. Obviously, there's more than we can pack into a single discussion on this, and there's plenty of other topics that this has got me thinking about, and I hope that that's the case for everyone listening as well. And please do feel free to have your say on Twitter as well. It wouldn't be in the guerrilla spirit to say otherwise. We don't have that long left, but we will talk a little bit about 4-day tests. As mentioned at the top of the show, the MCC committee and the World Cricket Committee have come out against mandatory 4-day tests, joining the Federation of International Cricketers and a number of top players, including Virat Kohli, who, for all of his faults and for all of the BCCI's faults, is not afraid to use his position. My take on this, to some extent, is kind of what's all the fuss about. Boards can already schedule 4-day tests if they want to. England did it versus Ireland at Lord's last year, and as you said, PE December 2017, South Africa did against Zimbabwe. I kind of, before we let you go, I wonder what the reaction has been in South Africa.
It's been mixed. Because I think when you are outside of that elite bubble, you want to try and convince the big guys to play Test cricket against you, and if 4-day cricket, 4-day Test cricket is the way to make or to encourage India to give you more games, to come here more often. England, Australia, same goes for England, Australia. Then on the one hand, I understand why it makes more commercial sense. It's the loss of a fifth day or an empty stadium on a fifth day is a bigger financial blow to a country like South Africa than it is to, say, Australia and England and India, where the money is, where the game is healthy and more financially stable. Having said that, cricketers' brains and cricket fans' brains turn slowly, don't they? We this is why we obsess over history and stats and the weather. We tend to like things the way they are, especially in Test cricket. It's like, things can happen in T20 cricket, things can happen in one-day cricket, but leave Test cricket alone, especially if you're a purist. So I'm of the opinion that I would like to see it stay 5 days. I mean, we wouldn't have had the epic fifth day in Headingley. We even had the epic fifth day in Cape Town now recently without it. So yeah, it's a mixed bag. I understand why the suits on 4 days, but I mean, you cut me open and I bleed the red of a Test cricket ball. So I wanted to stay 5 days, and I think you're in agreement, right?
I love 5-day Test cricket. I think the option of the fifth day makes a massive positive difference, even to tests that end in 4 days. I think that Headingley Test actually did end in 4 days, but I think the option of the fifth day makes a significant difference to how the game is played. That whole series, I mean, Test cricket in England's been on fast forward for the last several years, as it kind of has been in South Africa until that Cape Town Test. But that's not the point. One good game hit, one good 5-day Test, and there's been a lot of them recently, doesn't make the case any more than a bad 5-day Test makes the case in the other direction. But I don't see the need to make it mandatory. Boards can already schedule tests of however long they like.
Yes.
It seems heavy-handed, and it seems. I guess I'm going to let you go fairly soon, but I think it's the wrong point for the ICC to be intervening at. It wouldn't be the Guerrilla Cricket podcast if I didn't say that the ICC need to centrally fund Test cricket and centrally fund Test cricketers. Stop Test cricketers having to make decisions like becoming a coal pack. Actually make Test cricket financially viable, make that a more equal choice, and if they're genuinely serious about Test cricket and want to do I guess reinforce what the World Test Championship is trying to do in terms of bringing Test cricket forward without sacrificing what makes Test cricket really great, fund it properly. I mean, you don't need to change the structures in that way at all, but that seems to be a much harder message to get across. But we will have a 5-day test ahead of us starting on Thursday, and on that note, that brings us to the end of another edition of the Guerrilla Cricket podcast. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Oh, Nako, it's always a pleasure chatting to you guys. As you know, always a big fan. Love the work you guys, and we talk about the democratization of Test cricket, and your listeners don't need me to tell them that you guys are champions of the little folk cricket, and we stand on your shoulders.
Hashtag keep cricket global. Thank you to producer John, even though I'm actually producing this week. Remember, you can get the pod before anyone else by signing up as a patron at any donation level at patreon.com/Guerrilla Cricket. But if you don't have the ready cash, don't worry, it'll be with you before too long on iTunes, Spotify, Acast, and Podbean. If you're listening on iTunes, please do leave us a nice review and a 5-star rating. Really helps us out, whatever podcast platform you're listening on. Please share the pod with your cricket-loving friends till 7:50 a.m. UK time. That's 9:50 a.m. South Africa time, adjust according to time zone. Add salt to taste. On Thursday the 16th, from everyone here at Guerrilla Cricket, it's goodbye. Welcome back to Guerrilla Cricket's coverage of England's tour of South Africa 2019-20. You join us just after tea on day one of the third test. This series, of course, level 1-1 with 2 to play. England did not have it all their own way in the second session. South Africa, after a really listless, first session, came back very well in that second session. Only the 2 wickets to show for it. Both England openers, Zach Crawley for 44 and Dominic Sibley for 36, falling into well-set leg-side traps, but all of the South African bowlers to some extent bowled well. Keshav Maharaj caused quite a lot of problems for the England captain Joe Root, who's on 13 not out. Joe Denley acting as the shock absorber basically for England, as he has been through most of his brief-ish test career, is also on 13 not out and is hitting a number of very nice shots straight to fielders, but he and Root are still there, even if Root is a bit lucky to do so. The wicket takers Rabada and Nokhir. Keshav Maharaj has been excellent, 19 overs, 9 maidens, none for 22, but England might get a little bit more joy in the third session if they can keep the South African bowlers coming back for their second and third spells. I am Knuckle Mpande. I'll be taking you through the first half an hour on ball by ball. To my right, trying not to eat cheese into the mic, is Nigel the Bear Walker.
Man, it's good cheese, I'm telling you.
And to my left, the rebarbative not Fred Titmus is reading your tweets and your social media messages.
That's not very nice.
No,
there are no tweets or social messages. I don't know whether these people have been mentioned. I'll just run through a couple who are on Crick Tracker. Ganesh Acharya and Manish Gildivan and Raj Kaur have joined us. So welcome to you and anybody else on our many and varied platforms.
Indeed.
Yes, indeed. We're back out there, and we do have further rotation of the seam bowlers at the Park Drive end. It was Werner Philander before tea. Instead, it's a much faster fella after.
He's a high roller, rock and roller, scariest, deadliest.
Kahisa Rabada to the England captain, who tries to force off the back foot, keeps a tad low and comes off the inside part of the bat to Rossi van der Dussen coming in from the sort of catching backwards square leg. There is no run. Rabada got the first breakthrough, that of Dominic Sibley, caught very well by Dean Elgar at leg gully. As I say, he's bowling to the England captain, who's on 13 off 35 and has looked really edgy.
I think, we've been all saying he's edgy out there, but I think it's more to do with, I think this pitch is bloody difficult to score runs on. It's just not coming onto bat at all. And he's just trying to push the score along. I think he's aware that, 117 for 2 after nearly 60 overs.
Rabada is in a short ball, which Root drops the hands on and sways inside the line of. Lets it go through to the keeper. There is no run. It's not a pitch that you can score particularly freely on, but he's looked. There's been noticeably less hitting the middle of the bat than there has been for Denley, Sibley, or Crawley.
Yeah, I understand that, but I think he's trying to take it upon himself to try and push the front right. He's taking more risks than the others, I think, and more unorthodox shots, sweeping across the line.
It's hard to sweep in line, isn't it?
Well, obviously. That's rebarbative, man. That's rebarbative.
Slip in a gully and that sort of catching square leg. That's good, well played from Joe Root, but not particularly well run by Joe Denley, because there was always a single there, you'd think, into the offside as Root just dropped it down in front of him. Zubair Hamza was in quickly from gully, got the throw away, and had he hit at the striker's end, Joe Denley would have been gone. But they do come through for the single. Root moves on to 14. Let's jingle up the England batsman. Hamza had one stumped away. Matt Denley would have been gone by some distance. Didn't really get the dive in fully. That should have been a fairly easy single there, I think.
Well, yeah, the batsmen are.
Joe Denley, he's almost as old as this theme song, but Chef is gone and we need someone to bat at the top of the order. Joe Denley, he's also a part-time bowler. He can do leg spin, but he's no Ravi Ashwin. He'll need
fourth ball of the over. Denley plays it pleasantly outside off stump. Again, a sort of slightly grand forward defensive, really, rather than a drive. Well fielded by Dean Elgar at short cover, and there is no run.
I mean, there's only 21 overs after this until the new ball's due.
Possibly the scoring rate might increase, as Gary and I were saying before tea, with the second new ball. I think for England, there's a certain amount of do the work, put the hours in now, put the miles in the bowler's legs a little bit and try and cash in later, perhaps. That's a good ball from Kahisa Rabada. Hurries Joe Denley, who is vulnerable on that inside edge, and it thumps into his body and drops down into the leg side. There is no, and every now and again one's just kissing off the wicket from back of a length when Rabada and Nokia are bowling and rushing the England batsman for pace.
I mean, it does seem so dry that you do think it probably, I don't know what the temperature is. Anyone know what the temperature is?
About 29 degrees.
Yeah, it's quite hot, so if it's dry already, then it should get up and down and start to break up.
It's already turning. Maharaj is getting turned off the main part of the pitch. Last ball of the first over after tea is short outside off stump and wide. Denley throws the hands through it and was correct to do so. There's no one anywhere near where that ball flew through past gully. 4 runs. couple of England batsmen were guilty of playing rather half-hearted horizontal bat strokes, but that was a full-bodied slash by Joe Denley, and he got his reward for being decisive. He moves finally off 13. He moves to 17. Roots on 14. England 122 for 2.
And Roots jingle.
His voice is high-pitched and ginger hair like a pick, but massive runs he has hit, so there's that. Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root.
Introduce yourself.
Joe Root, actually.
That's the skipper.
Hiking fan Andre says, interestingly, Bavuma has heeded Boucher's demand for runs. He's got 160 plus in the 4-day game currently. Which team does he play for?
He plays for the Lions. They're playing at Peter Maritzburg. Keshav Maharaj is going to continue this long spell, his 20th over in a row, bowled straight through the second session and a couple of overs in the morning session, and now this first in the evening session from the duck pond end. He bowls outside off stump. And Joe Root punches this off the back foot through point. The man sweeping on the point boundary field. There is no run. Gary and I were saying just before tea that perhaps you might want to bring that field up to regular point for Denley off Maharaj, because he's not looked comfortable against the left arm spinner. This dips a little on Denley and turns, and he plays this with the outside part of the back-to-back point. There is no run. Shall we get a jingle for the South African spinner? Slip and a short extra cover, almost an off Hayden. Peter Milan pretty close to the cut strip. Denley pushes this from middle and off stump up to Kaisa Rabada at mid on. There is no run.
He's known as Keshav.
Yeah, I suppose it doesn't matter in another sense, doesn't it? I mean, England got to bat through till after tea tomorrow.
Maharaj is in bowling a little bit wide of the crease. That's a little bit too short, and again Denley plays a pleasant shot that doesn't beat the field to the regular extra cover, and there is no run. You should catch up with your tweets and your Facebook Live messages,
if there were any.
Maharaj holds this up outside off stump, a little bit of turn, but Denley can trust the fact that the ball is going to turn and leaves it alone through to Quintin de Kock. There is no run.
Yeah, apparently it is very warm there today and will be for the rest of the test match.
Okay.
So it could help the wicket break.
Maharaj goes a little wider in the crease, and with that little bit of width, Denley is able to cut this out to the man at deep point. Rossi van der Dussen sweeping on the point boundary. A couple of easy singles. Not quite sure why Maharaj has hands on head. That was a perfectly safe shot for Denley. He moves to 18. Joe Root's on 15. England 124 for 2.
You're getting a little bit carried away there, Bear, by talking about batting till tea tomorrow. I mean, this is not a team that's looked like it could bat for 160 overs too often. Certainly not in the first innings of Test matches.
Well, no, but I mean, the way they're going along at the moment, they're going to need to get a score on a bloody board. I mean,
the scoring will pick up at some point.
Of course it will. I mean, South African bowlers will get tired, but they'll get rest overnight. You know,
Stokes and Butler and Curran and Pope, scored at a good rate. We're looking at scenes from the Port Elizabeth ground. Looks very nice. Plenty of trees and
grass bank out to one side, which is mostly Barmy Army occupied.
There were a lot of English tourists at Cape Town, as there always are. Maybe as many as, I don't know, up to 20,000.
Rabada in short, Denley on the back foot and cuts this away backward of square, opens the face and gets it down to the third man boundary for 4.
It's Nissan She. It's Nissan She.
No, I think there might have been a man at deep point, but there was no one at third man. A little bit too wide from Kaiso Rabada. So actually noticing from that angle, Zubair Hamza is very close at gully.
I think you've got to be close. It's not carrying, is it? I mean, the thing is, at gully, I suppose it's going to be a shot rather than an edge, or it can be.
Well, it's not going to be there for the bounce, which gully often is, because haven't seen anything take off.
That could also change. You know, if the pitch breaks up, you get some poppers.
A short ball which Denley takes on again. He pulls it away nicely between those two catches, at sort of catching backward square leg and catching mid wicket out to the deep square leg field. I think that's the shot that Zach Crawley was trying to play when he got out, but Denley with much more certainty finds the gap and takes the single.
Amila N. Max says on Facebook, says real test match, laughing crying emoji, and Asif Khan says, what about Dhoni? I'm not sure that's particularly relevant.
What's
to
Stoney
what
done
we're
now?
watching?
Well, he's not been given a central contract
Ooh.
for India this year. The end may be nigh, or even nigher than it already was. Rabada down the leg side, and Root just helps this on its way down to the debutant, Dane Patterson, down at long leg. That's a no ball by Kahiso Rabada.
Oh, is it? Let's give him a little jingle.
Over the line! Huh? I'm sorry, Smokey. You were over the line. That's a foul.
Yeah, there was a bit of controversy. I think it was at Cape Town, wasn't it, where there were a lot of no balls.
Huge no balls.
That weren't called. That is a no ball, not much of a no ball, but a no ball. But the umpire, certainly in the second innings at Cape Town and here in the first innings at Port Elizabeth, have been very sharp on those front foot no balls as Kahiso Rabada in that slip and a gully awaits as he bowls full into the pads of Joe Denley, who finds the gap in the leg side to the right hand of the man at mid-wicket. They come through for 2, well run. Denley into the 20s, moves to 25 now, in fact.
What are you expecting Denny to get? No one's got 50 yet, have they?
Nope, Zach Crawley made
44.
44, his highest score in Test cricket to date. Denley on 25 off 94, so we've got a slip and a gully. I think we've got a deep point. We've got a cover, a mid off, a mid on. Those 2 men catching on the leg side at mid-wicket and backward square leg and a deep square leg. That's a very good take by Kahiso Rabada, by Quinton de Kock, as Rabada does bowl a short ball, which Denley just about manages to get his head out of the way of, and it flies down the leg side, and Quinton de Kock, standing pretty close, much closer than he would normally for Kahiso Rabada, sends out a mitt to his left and takes it and rolls away to his left.
He looks by far and away the quickest of the bowlers, doesn't he?
Yeah, Nokia's slipped himself a couple of times, but I think in terms of sort of average pace, as it were,
Consistent,
Rabada's
aggressive bowling.
Rabada in a short ball, well left by Denley, just drops the hands and sways inside the line of the ball through to the keeper. There is no run.
So 7 off the over.
Yeah, I think he could have scored more runs in this brief post-tee session than they did in the last sort of half an hour of the second session, when South Africa, to be fair, I think bowled very well during that second session. They had plans which they didn't seem to have any of in the first session, and their bowlers all stuck to them well, helped by Maharaj doing a very good job from the duck pond end. Denley gets himself into a slightly awkward position as Rabada bowls short and into the body. The plan from Rabada and Nokia for this since lunch has very much been short and into the body. Denley gets a little bit tucked up, but lets it go down the arse, taken by de Kock. There is no run at England, 133 for 2.
Cricket Andre says that Maharaj needs wickets, otherwise Lindy, who has wickets and runs in the 4-day, or Muthusami will be pushed in surely.
Both of whom played in India, but Keshav Maharaj, I think, has done a pretty good job for South Africa in the time he's been in the Test team.
Beijing Duck says, there's been an interesting pitch on day 4 and 5 with England's part-time tweakers and Dombes. I thought you meant part-time tweaker Dombes. Yeah. But it might be. Well, let's wait and see. A long way off at the moment.
Yes, indeed. Keshav Maharaj continues to wheel away tirelessly, seemingly tirelessly, at least from the duck pond end. A sweep from the stumps from Joe Root. Finally connects with one from off stump, gets it down to the man on the 45. They come through for a single.
Was that faff down there on the 45? I thought it was.
If it is, then
it's a very strange place for the captain to
well,
himself.
I mean, if he does have himself there, then it's clearly a plan, and they're planning to get him caught there.
Yeah, but
maybe there's 2 sort of catching extra covers, almost a wideish off Hayden, the catching extra cover at Peter Milan and Dean Elgar respectively. Joe Denley defends off the front foot, square of the wicket. There is no run.
Well, there's this perception that spinners don't get tired. It's not actually true.
Oh no,
it's not true.
Speaking as there are 3 spinners here talking to you at the moment.
This one drifts into the pads, and Denley blocks this into the onside. There is no run.
I have been known to get tired halfway through my first over.
Well, sometimes the first over back can be the most tiring.
Yeah.
Certainly, I've got a few neck cricks in my first over. Maharaj. This one slides on with the arm. A very belated appeal from Keshav Maharaj. Quinton de Kock went up immediately. I think there was an inside edge, and I think Maharaj saw that.
If there was no bat, that was plumb.
Oh, yeah. I think Keshav Maharaj is actually trying to talk Quinton de Kock out. Oh, they have reviewed it. I think there was bat on this.
I think they will need to have been bat on this to avoid an LBW.
Well, I mean, there's 2 questions here. Did he hit it? And also, was it sliding down leg. Did it straighten a little bit?
I don't think so.
And it's one of these.
That was out, that was out, that was definitely out.
Was that definitely out?
I don't know.
It was an arm ball.
Well, it might have been an attempted. It was a sort of scrambled seam thing, but it just hit the leather and skidded. It did straighten a little. Oh, it's hit the back
out.
pad. That's absolutely plumb.
That's going to hit leg stump, and I'm pretty sure.
That might even be hitting middle stump. Denley didn't get the back pad out of the way. He didn't get the bat through. That hit him on middle and off stump.
Oh, that's out.
That's absolutely stone dead.
Yeah,
Good
I thought
call
it
by
was.
Quinton de Kock and Faf du Plessis to review this. Maharaj wasn't convinced, but Denley getting into a tangle with the one that didn't turn was a little bit quicker, thudding into middle and off stump, halfway up. Keshav Maharaj has his reward for a very good spell, and Joe Denley is gone for 25. Oxenford makes the Tutankhamun symbol, gives a little shrug after he puts the finger up, which I like. Comme ci, comme ça. Joe Denley gone for 25 of 100 balls. Again, has done sort of part of his job in that he's sort of acted as a sort of sacrificial number 3. 25 of 100 balls, 3 boundaries. England 134 for 3.
Indeed. He doesn't seem to kick on, does he, at the moment? He gets,
I was making the point.
They're useful innings because they take up time on balls, but you'd like a few more runs for the amount of balls he's faced, I think.
I was making the point in the green room that Denley, gets to 25, 30, 35, and people going, yeah, he's doing a job for the team, yeah, he's doing this, he's keeping people company. And you get Vince, who gets to 25, 30, 35, and people go, fucking Vince, he's he gets to 20, he gets a start, and then he nicks up.
Yeah, I mean, that's partly you get judged by higher standards if you look pretty batting, and also Denley is eating up deliveries. He regularly bats 75, 100 balls, which can be useful.
Honestly, there are 15 better batsmen, England qualified batsmen than Joe Denley around.
But I don't know. I mean, he scored 90 at the end of the New Zealand series. He scored a 50.
That was the one where he was dropped on Norton and was
LBW,
totally, and they didn't even review it.
You forget where you are.
He
scored a 50 or 60 twice in this series already, hasn't he?
He's made useful contributions. I'll say no more than that. Someone who's made significantly more than useful contributions and was the other day named the ICC Men's Test Player of the Year comes in at number 5.
Ben? Ben Stokes.
What a fine cricketer he has become in the last couple of years. Ben Stokes. Runs, catches and wickets at Cape Town. The last little burst of 3 wickets sealed the victory for England. You find themselves in a position that, well, the game is very nicely poised, 134 for 3.
Yeah. It takes 60 overs to get there.
Yep, it's not been easy. The plan has obviously been for England to be solid, which is what everyone's been crying out for, and I think is probably the right way to go, but you've got to score the runs at some point.
Yeah, but as I say, I don't think this wicket is easy to score runs on. I think South Africa will have the same sort of problem. I think you've got to get decent first innings score on the board, and the game will flow from there. If they can get 3... I'd like 450, but that seems unlikely with England. But if you can get to 350 and eat up time doing it, it could be an interesting game.
I'd be setting par about maybe 375 or so.
With these two teams, I think that's fucking...
just based on this pitch.
Based on the pitch, but look at the 2 back lineups.
A minute ago, Bear, you were talking about batting till tea.
Well, ideally, I'd like to bat till tea tomorrow, but
Not many teams bat 160 overs in any conditions, really.
Exactly.
Slip and a short leg for Ben Stokes to Keshav Maharaj, who's over the wicket, of course, to the left-hander. Stokes gets himself bodily outside the line of off stump and defends off the front foot. There is no run.
Beijing Ducks say, oh dear, Ducks' prediction goes wrong, but is verging towards coming true, he says slightly untruly, albeit it is Denley, not Root, who goes now for 2 quick wickets for Rabada or whoever else steps up.
Covering all bases, that's an astrologer's prediction. As Maharaj is in last ball of the over, too short, and Stokes can rock onto the back foot and punch this down the ground. They've set the long on back, and perhaps thinking that Stokes might try and take on Maharaj like he did on day 4 at Cape Town, but this is a very different situation. Stokes off the mark with a single, Root on 17, England 135 for 3.
I was lucky enough to be at the Cape Town test, and I'm struggling to think when I ever saw a more brutal test match innings than Stokes on day 4.
He was utterly contemptuous of all the bowlers.
He was. You just thought, and the field, I don't know if you don't get a very good view of it on the ground, but they had a slip and everyone else was on the boundary.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone. That was Rabada bowling to Stokes.
I think I described it as sort of scatter 8 on a cricket game.
It was 8 men on the boundary. I don't think I've ever seen that field in a test match. And a slip. They had a slip in.
Yeah.
And at times he was batting with someone who wasn't that bad at the other end as well, wasn't he, when he was doing that? It wasn't just the tail.
No, he was
No,
batting.
so-
I think it was Ollie Pope at the other end,
Yeah,
or
I
Josh
think
Butler.
It was one or the other. And you kind of
No,
think, well,
Butler came in after Stokes was out.
Oh, so you're doing Pope then?
Yeah, it would have been Pope or possibly
Then
Sibley.
Pope,
Or Sibley.
Oh, sorry, of course.
Sibley,
Yeah, cool. So yeah, Sibley was just thinking, great, I don't have to do anything.
I'll get
well,
off
no,
the strike.
exactly. But
Thank
then,
you.
yeah, exactly. But then when you get the single, it's
Well,
not like you've got someone easy to bowl at the other end. There's a
Stokes
man all the
came in
time.
when Sibley was on about 65, and people were suggesting
Wondering-
that Stokes might get to his 100 before Sibley
Well,
did.
we were wondering that ourselves.
Yeah, Rabada round the wicket to Stokes, a slip and a gully is quite square, backward point, cover mid wicket, deep square leg. A little bit of lift outside off stump, and Stokes fends at it, goes to Kesha Maharaj at backward point. There is no run.
It was, as you say, utterly dismissive. You didn't look like you could bowl to him at all.
Yeah, and he did it very early as well. It reminded me a little bit of how he took on Chris Morris at Cape Town in the last time in 2016.
I mean, the situation demanded it. It wasn't.
It was a very selfless innings.
Yeah.
But Dwayne Pretorius bowled a perfectly decent length delivery, and Stokes just stood there and twatted it over the leg side for 6. Rabada going wide of the crease, back of a length, and Stokes solidly in behind this one. There is a force and a purpose even to his defensive strokes.
And as it turned
Field
out,
backward
England
point, there is no run.
needed
Yeah, they did.
every
That was
minute of the extra time that he bought them.
Well, absolutely.
Certainly.
I mean, that was the beauty about it, wasn't it? Really.
It's quite an open stance, Ben Stokes, to Rabada coming in from round the wicket, trying to make sure that he can get back to ball. But then he's in line fairly orthodox manner when at the point of release, but he is trying to make sure that he doesn't get closed off. There's the slight impression that his bat is too small for him. Rabada in back of a length, and Stokes tries to force off the back foot, comes off the sort of bottom inside part of the bat to cover. There is no run. A grimace from Stokes.
You sometimes get the impression that the playing area is too small for him.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
He bestride this narrow world like a colossus.
We were talking yesterday about Ben Stokes took an extraordinary catch in the first game of the World Cup of Fechluhuayo, and certain other people, that may be the highlight of their year or their decade or their career, but it probably wasn't in his top 5 of the season for him.
Rabada in full delivery, tight to off stump, good delivery. Stokes blocks it firmly up to mid on. There is no run. No, it wasn't even the best thing he did in that World Cup.
Nope.
Quite incredible, really, isn't it? He's an incredible cricketer. And I remember when he first started playing, and Ashes in Australia, and I thought he was going to be more of a bowling all-rounder. He's kind of switched it around. I think they under-bowl him at times.
Yeah, they're a little bit careful with him, and I think that's probably wise.
Stokes in very quickly onto the pull shot as Rabada drops a little bit short outside off stump, pulled down to I think that's Peter Milan at deep square leg. They come through for the single. Stokes to 2. I mean, the thing is, you have to be careful with Stokes because left to his own devices, he would bowl all day, and he's going to break himself at some point. You've got to manage him quite carefully, I think.
Ram Karavadra says, good noon. I think he's learning from Hendo. And Manav Virvani says hi. So hello to you. And
Hello to
everybody
all.
else watching to us on Crick Tracker or on our Facebook page or on YouTube or anywhere else.
Here comes Rabada. Last ball of the over, slipping a gully to the England captain, Joe Root, who shapes to hook and then ducks at the last minute. That one flew through, certainly. Rabada's got his tail up, a bit of fire in the belly. This is good stuff from South Africa. England 136 for 3.
But we've been taken to task by Superbus Starodub, who says this Ben Stokes fellatio is getting out of hand.
Well,
we are quite good.
You kind of got to appreciate very good cricketers. You just have to. You don't know how long they're going to be around for.
Why, what have you heard?
You know.
He's not been to a nightclub recently. Vien Gulung says hello. So,
Hello.
Hello to you. Oh, have I read that wrong? No, I haven't. V10 Gulung. There's a band at Port Elizabeth who play almost continuously through the through the Test match.
Yep, a brass band of many, many members. Occasionally have been banned by busybodies, but I think it adds very much to the character of the ground that the brass band is there, slipping a short leg, 3 men up in the offside. This one turns sharply and beats Stokes on the inside edge. He's late on that, like Denley was late on the one that got him, and it goes between bat and pad, and well taken by Quinton de Kock. There is no run.
He's bowling pretty well.
He's bowling very well, yeah.
It must be encouraging to have a wicket that's useful, especially on day one. Christ.
And also not being your captain's only plan, which he was at Cape Town for large parts. A massive LBW shot. Maharaj goes up for this one, I think emboldened by the wicket of Denley. De Kock went up pretty quickly, but he always does. And they've reviewed it again. He drew Stokes forward. I thought he got outside the line while playing a stroke.
He may have been on the line of off stump and then carried on his pad going forward after the ball had hit him.
It is possible. There's also, I guess, the question of whether it's turning past leg stump, because he's a long way forward, Ben Stokes.
It's not turning that far. I mean, if it's turning, it's turning leg stump.
That was definitely out. Was that definitely out? I don't know.
Well, we've seen this. It's turned from outside off stump. Stokes, I think he's got his
back leg.
I think he's got his whole body outside the line of off stump. I think it's hit the back leg, but his back leg is further outside off stump than his front pad. It's certainly missed the bat. It's missed the front pad. It's hit the back pad. I think he's just outside the line. It might be umpire's call. It wasn't given out on field. We're seeing this now. Stokes is definitely walking across outside off stump. It's hit him. Yeah, umpire's call. And hitting middle stump, so certainly not turning too much. So Ben Stokes has just managed to get enough of himself outside the line of off stump to save himself. South Africa do not lose the review, but England, more importantly, do not lose the wicket.
Closer than I thought, actually. I thought it hit the front pad, and I thought it hit him quite far outside the line. I thought it was a bit of a poor shout for review, but it turns out to be not a bad one.
Maharaj causing problems here at Port Elizabeth. He's in, but a little bit too short, and Stokes can force this off the back foot. Good concentration from Ben Stokes, taking the single, having been beaten the ball before. He moves to 3.
This is the problem. We scored so slowly now. If we lost another wicket now, we'd actually looking like a bit of trouble. Which is kind of how it turned out for South Africa in the first innings in the last test, because they only had to chase 260.
Yeah, you can't have it always, though, can you?
No, you can't. You can't. It's true. And they had that big stand, didn't they, between Van der Dussen and Elgar.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that went, I mean, that was like, 100 and something odd stand, and then it was the first 100 partnership of the entire series, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. As Maharaj is in to root, it's a slip, and that man at sort of straightish short extra cover. That's a good sweep from Joe Root, a little bit fuller, easier for him to play the stroke, and he hit it hard, he hit it in front of square, and he hit it all on the ground for 4.
There's not one more for me, I must have 2 or 3, I need 4.
It came off quite high off the bat there.
Yeah,
up near the sticker.
It was just about full enough, and it just didn't quite dip as much as some of the others that Maharaj has got to dip, so there was no danger of the top edge, but Root actually committed to the stroke on that occasion. What'll Maharaj come back with? He'll come back with a full toss. Well, Joe Root kind of makes it into a full toss by a big lunge down the track and just deflect it away very fine. Back-to-back 4s for the England captain of Keshav Maharaj. Root just starting to look a little bit more comfortable against Keshav Maharaj.
Yeah, I think he's more comfortable with Stokes down the other end. He knows he's not got to make all the running, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think there's an element of that.
It's not like Denley. I mean,
Denny was going at strike rate at 25, which is not in itself bad in a test match.
Hit the ball. I mean,
he can hit the ball, but as we all know, he always hits the fielder.
Last ball of the over from Keshav Maharaj. Plenty happening. Another sweep from Root. A little bit of a hacked sweep shot, but it was very full, almost a half volley. And he'll take the 2 out to Andrich Norkier on the deep mid-wicket boundary. He moves to 27. Stokes is on 3. England 147 for 3 at the end of the 64th over.
Don't usually see sweeps go to cow corner, do you?
It's quite a slow pitch, and he is deliberately trying to play them in front of square.
Yeah, it was a long way in front of square. I mean, the man was at deep square leg and had to come probably about 35 yards round to his left of field. That somebody whose name I can't read says good evening. So good evening to you. I think that's Arabic, but it might not be.
Possibly Hindi. No, that's Arabic.
Knuckle has spoken, everybody. It's Arabic. 147 for 3. 64 overs gone. The run rate has certainly eased its way upwards in the last 20 minutes or so, because they were getting they were about just over 2 and over at.
Yeah, they were. It's near 2.5 now, isn't it? Not even that.
64, 128. So it's 2.3, something 2 1/3.
Plenty happening from Keshav Maharaj at the duck pond end where he's been throughout. We will have a change probably at the end of the over. Carissa Rabada is going to continue from the Park Drive end, bowling to Ben Stokes. He's round the wicket. There's Rabada pushed at by Stokes, slightly in the air, bounces well short of Keshav Maharaj at backward point, but Stokes was drawn into the drive, and with this pitch not being particularly quick, it squirted aerially, but well short of the fielder. A mini moral victory for Carissa Rabada.
Yeah, you don't want to squirt aerially. That was definitely a moral victory for the bowler, even if it did bounce 2 yards before in front of the fielder.
Stokes has an ooh and an accusatory look at where that ball pitched.
Stokes has seemed to have stopped wearing these the tubey grip sleeves.
He's showing off his tats. Maybe they've come in properly.
Do we ever know what's written on those things?
Back of a length and left alone by Stokes through to the keeper. There is no run. I'm not sure it's meant to be an actual script.
Well, no, some of them seem to be actual names. I was just trying to look.
Does he have his parents' name?
No, it seems to be, I don't know, like dwarfish names. Anyway, it's South Africa.
Dwarfish
well,
names?
You're suggesting he's a Tolkien fan.
Runic, I don't know. South Africa 12-5. The draw is 13-5. England are favourites at 21-20. First time I've looked at the betting
But not odds on. Yeah.
No one's odds on. No.
That's fair enough.
Very much in the balance as Rabada's in third ball of the over. A short ball which doesn't really get up. Stokes waits for it and pulls it out to the man sweeping on the deep square leg boundary, Pieter Malan. Stokes moves to 4.
I thought that was a slower ball bouncer, but it wasn't. It was 142 kilometres per hour.
Stuck in the wicket. We will have a change. Jason shall enlighten us as to what that change is going to be. It is. We will have some sort of two-person change. Bear's going to stay on Jingles. Jason's going to come into tweets. And who's coming into ball by ball? Tony Bishop is coming into ball by ball. Thank you very much. 3 balls left of this particular commentary triad as Rabada's back over the wicket to Joe Root. He pulls again very much in front of square, which I think is probably the right idea, but he can't beat Dean Elgar at short mid-wicket. There is no run. He's got to be a little bit careful he doesn't drag on here, Joe Root, because he's really trying to whip the bottom hand through the line of the ball, and he could easily get that a little bit too early. But,
he seems to be getting the pace of the wicket a bit better now, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think it's better than what England were trying to do earlier, which was just trying to sort of help the ball on its way and picking out the fielders. Rabada in back of the leg, he's bowled him, caught on the back foot. That didn't really do a great deal, but Root was neither forward nor back. It thuds into the top of off stump. Joe Root looks disconsolately down at the wicket. Kaisa Rabada has his second wicket. England 148 for 4.
I won't look back, 'cause by the time that I do, you'll be gone.
They're going to look at the front foot? I'd look at the front foot.
Well, I think they will look at the front foot. They always do. Fred next to me was indicating that kept a little bit low.
Yeah,
a little bit, but Brute, by being caught on the back foot, exacerbated that. You see how deep he is in the crease.
Yeah, it's pretty short. Didn't get up at all.
And it's thudded into the top of off stump. Perhaps kept a little bit low, but Root paying for a lack of precision and decision in his footwork. Huge celebration from Kaisa Rabada getting the England captain for 27 of 46 with 4 fours. England 148 for 4.
I'd literally just put a bloody bet on the fall of the next wicket being over 180. That's really annoying. Ah well, next man in will be the Pope.
Yeah, it did keep a bit low, but not as low as Joe Root was making out, I don't think.
It often looks worse than it did, but at that sort of speed, it's enough, isn't it? I mean, England, having me been so positive literally 20 minutes ago, England are looking like they're getting into a similar position as to what South Africa did in what were we talking about not that long ago.
To be fair, I don't think there's been I wouldn't say that England have thrown this away exactly. I think South Africa have bowled a lot better. They bowled much more in keeping with the conditions of the pitch, but nevertheless, England have gone for 134
for 2 to 148 for 4.
And it's not just that, it's the amount of time you're taking to get to 148. It's nearly 70 overs, and you really haven't gone along a run rate that's, so you've eaten up all that time, or all those balls. You're nearly close to the new ball.
As Rabada is in, if he was fired up before, he's even more fired up now. He bowls a bouncer, which Pope can duck pretty comfortably. There is no run. England 148 for 4. Hendo and Tony Bishop are poised, but Jason Hiscox will read social media messages while Bear and I shifty.
Right. Gaiety's CC has joined us. Says, this is lovely stuff. Surfaces are livelier than the one in PE. Talking about a crossword that he was creating for our correspondence. Banbrisha says, hello, good morning and bollocks. Northern California says, hi. Pitcairn Island is a perfect home for the Sussexes. Keep up the great work.
Thank you very much, Jason.
And Gaiety's...
there's more.
Yeah, Tom Russell says, not my best. I think the day job got in the way today, talking about the crossword that he, cricket-themed crossword that he sent out.
Well, Maharaj is... has that taken an edge? There's a half shout. Stokes sort of thrust forward. Big, firm shake of the head by Bruce Oxenford, who clearly didn't feel...
Oh, they reviewed it.
But they have reviewed. They feel they're on a roll, I think.
Well, what do you think they've appealed for? I think they've appealed for a catch.
I think it's for a catch.
I think they've appealed for a catch,
slip.
but when they do agree a review, it's for all dismissals.
Well, that's true.
All forms of dismissal.
Well, needless to say, it's not a no ball, as you would expect it not to be from Kisha Maharaj. Let's have a look for you. The pitch is a long way outside.
I think he's got outside,
there.
He's got well outside.
Well, I think there is a hint of an inside edge onto pad. That's the thing they're looking at. So if we have another look,
I thought there was
Hendo, watch out for that. I think it was inside edge onto pad.
No, I don't think there's anything there at all. I don't think there's anything there at all.
But I don't think there is. In which case,
look out! I mean, there's a massive gap between bat and pad. It's huge.
Well, then it's
4 inches.
Then he's well and truly he's outside the line of off, and we should move on, because the only thing I thought I saw was inside edge onto pad and then appealing for the catch.
That's nowhere near.
Impact outside, and we move on.
Ooh, we've got away with that.
Review lost for South Africa. 148 for 4. Well, at 70 without loss, Hendo. It was all looking rather rosy. 148 for 4. It looks a bit of a different game, doesn't it?
Well, I think Maharaj has bowled pretty well, and he's looking very dangerous to Stokes. I mean, with the footmarks that he's got outside his off stump.
He's in again, left arm over, and this one is dropped short. And Stokes can rock back and work him away to mid-wicket and help himself to a single. He'll move on to 5. The new man at the crease, faced just one ball, is Ollie Pope. Actually, hasn't faced a ball yet, has he? Did I miss something?
No, he hasn't.
No,
he had a bouncer.
My venerable... Oh, he did? Yes, my venerable brother, anyway. It is indeed. Averaging 32, Maharaj is coming around the wicket. And again, a big shout.
I've got to say, the South Africans are just getting ridiculously over-optimistic and excited here.
So? They're on a roll, though.
That was going miles down the leg side.
Adrenaline is pumping.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I would agree with you.
I don't think it's going miles down.
They want to keep that pressure on. In comes Maharaj. Forward comes Pope. There is, of course, a man under the lid at forward short leg. He thrusts down a big left paw and prevents any run.
But Maharaj is getting appreciable turn already.
Yep. Maharaj around the wicket again. Onto the back foot goes Pope just to steer it to mid-on. There's no run. But yes, that's quite... it's not what you'd call a collapse. But, what, 4 wickets in...
Well, 4 for 78, you're saying?
4 for 78. Yeah, well, I suppose you would call that a collapse, frankly, particularly of a top order. This is beautifully carved away through backward point by Ollie Pope to get him off the mark with an absolutely sumptuous cut 4.
The thing is, if you do get your length wrong on this pitch, if you do pitch a little bit too short, because it's so slow, it just sits up to be hit. And it was a good shot, but it was a terrible ball. And any self-respecting number 5 or 6 should be expected to put that away.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a good ball, but it was there to be hit, and it was hit quite stylishly. Yeah, so the wickets to have fallen. Crawley, he was kind of caught around the corner by Van der Dusen off Nokia. Sibley, in similar circumstances, caught around the corner by Elgar off Rabada. Joe Denley was LBW on review to Maharaj, and Joe Root was cleaned up top of off stump by Kagiso Rabada. So it has not been a good after a splendid morning. It's been a decidedly off-colour afternoon for England.
Yeah. Oh, it's very, very similar to Cape Town, isn't it? Where all those top order batsmen have got in and got 30 odd.
That's right.
Got themselves out.
Well, Rabada's got the wind in his sails now. His right arm around the wicket to the left-handed Stokes, who is happy to watch that through to Quinton de Kock, and there's no run.
I think the most disappointing wicket was probably that of Crawley. Having got himself to 44, you really got to take the chance to get that 50 on the board, just to give you that little bit of extra confidence and keeps you in the side for a little bit longer. Takes a bit of pressure off you, and full ball on leg stump. I know it's easy to just tickle it away around the corner.
But it was very much the better catch of the two.
Oh, it was a very good catch, yes.
Well, am I right in saying Burns is out of Sri Lanka as well? Yes, he will be, as in comes Rabada and forward comes Stokes, and this is sort of edgily away to backward point, and there's no run again. 89 miles an hour. That's 2 consecutive balls at that speed from Rabada. There's something about a bowler with his tail up, isn't there? When he's really feeling.
Oh yes.
He's got the wind in his sails. The force is with him.
We're just looking at the dismissal, and if anything, Root was done a little bit for pace there. He was late on the shot.
I think he was, yeah. I mean, maybe, I don't know, it kept appreciably that low. It was three-quarters of the way up off stump. It was a good delivery.
Didn't keep
it
low.
Was just quick. Mark Wood, I would hope, would be looking at that with some interest. Forward comes Stokes, just pushed away past the left arm of Rabada to mid-on, and there's no run.
Yeah, that was the slower ball from Rabada.
Yes, it was.
72 miles an hour.
Wow,
it was
that's
just a little off-cutter,
slow.
really, wasn't it? But Stokes picked it up, and he was just signalling to Ollie Pope at the other end that that was the ball.
Some tweets. Gaiety says nothing gets in the way of Rabada. Stoke Root included. As Joe Root's back with testify, replies Craig Atkins. Durbanoki joins us and says, good afternoon.
Rabada
Guess what?
Is in again.
We do.
Oh, that's a full toss. Maybe he was looking for the Yorker, and it was guided, really, just using the pace on the ball to guide it away through mid-wicket by Ben Stokes for 4 runs.
Now my innings going, great guns, I hit the ball, 4 runs, I hit the ball, and it went for 4 runs.
Sort of a block drive, really, wasn't it? I mean, he just didn't need to do anything. He just let the ball come onto the bat, angled the bat, and then really the bowler and the ball did all the work. The batsman didn't really have to do anything except get himself into position, which he did, I have to say, in exemplary fashion. So 157 for 4. Rabada in again around the wicket, short, and Stokes happy enough to let that again through to Quinton de Kock. So they need to be disciplined here. Do Stokes and Pope. Again, we have a sort of a ginger ninja combo. It's not Bairstow this time, but Stokes and Pope.
I think if Bairstow came back in for Butler, you'd have a trio of gingers.
A triumvirate.
A triumvirate.
Yep.
You
absolutely would.
The ginger nuts.
The gingers, that right in the middle.
Only one Pope though. Pope of the Gingers. The Bishop of Gingers.
I would like to see that dismissal of Root again. I didn't see it live because I was on the phone, but I'm looking at that and I do want to try and work out what he did wrong there.
Well,
I mean,
he was just late on it.
Well, yeah.
Apart from anything else.
Well, I want to come back to that after this ball.
Okay, in comes Rabada. Oh, and that one tucks. Well, it takes Ben Stokes in the midriff.
And
he's down onto his haunches. Again, that was pure speed that did that. Touching 90 miles an hour.
That was onto middle stump, wasn't it?
Again, yeah. I don't think he was thinking it would get up higher. It just got through his defences. Well, I wonder based on pace, I think.
I wonder whether that just stopped in the pitch a little bit. That should be a no ball, I think.
Yeah,
it's very, very tight indeed.
It was. We'll have another look and see what happens. It just came into him, and he played across the line, and actually he took it top of the thigh, sort of groin height, and that one's worked away to mid-wicket much more securely by Ben Stokes. No run, 159 for 4.
I think what got Stokes there was actually the lack of pace on the ball. He'd actually played across the line of the ball before it got to him. going back to the route dismissal, all I heard was the complaint of Gary that he should have gone forward to it. But I'm not 100% sure, having looked at that just briefly, and I'm wondering whether he was just done for pace, or maybe it did do a little bit as well.
We're also looking at the no ball, potential no ball from
So
Rabada,
tight,
not
that one.
given. Pulled this time, pulled through mid-wicket. There is a man out there, though, at deep mid-wicket, and they will just take a single. So that concludes the 67th over, 160 for 4. England. We're in the third session of the first day, a session that begun undoubtedly, or a day that begun very much going England's way. 60, 61 without loss, I think, at lunch, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem, I suppose. Again, we talked about England. They tend to be very much go at the ball, or if they go the other way, they tend to be a little bit too slow. So I think there was a bit of pressure in that afternoon session for England to get a bit of a move on again, and that may be why the wickets fell a little bit. That's a great...
wow, well, Rabada.
That's a send-off, isn't it? Some tweets. Neymar Butlin says, if Harry and Meghan are leaving Sussex, will they be available to open for Surrey?
You'd have another ginger player in the team.
Martin Jones says, if he's back fit and England keep losing tests all winter, well, hopefully they're not going to lose tests now.
Maharaj is going to continue, and this one is flicked across his pads by Stokes to forward short leg, and there was no run, just over 50 miles an hour from Maharaj.
Is that a chance? Because they're all looking a bit sheepish.
Well, they are. Let's have a look. Yes, it was a drop, in fact. Goodness me.
Yeah, but that's pure instinct, isn't it, that one, I think?
Well, sometimes they stick, though, don't they?
Well, they do. They do. But it was just a bit low down in the fingers.
This one is swept beautifully by Stokes, but that man at deep mid-wicket will tidy up down there. And again, it will be just a single. So living a little bit dangerously, these two. We'll watch that again. Who's the man under the lid there?
I think it's Hamza, isn't it?
Is it?
I think it's Milan.
Oh, is it Milan?
No,
yes,
Milan.
Peter Milan.
Hamza's at slip.
Right, yeah, it's Peter Milan.
Yeah, Peter Milan. And he knows he has an anguished look upon his face. As whilst those are not easy and they are instinctive, they do sometimes stay there. It would have been phenomenal lightning reactions if he had clung onto it. So there is a slip in place. There is a silly mid off. There is that's all we can see on our screen, but we know there's a deep mid wicket as well. As we wait for Maharaj to come around the wicket to the right-handed Ollie Pope, who thrusts a big front foot forward, pushes it away to cover, and there's no run. 161 for 4.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing how vital these first innings runs will be.
Yes, well, it's the old adage, isn't it, about as this one's given a bit more air by Maharaj, and Pope just gets nicely to the pitch of that and pushes it back to the bowler.
I mean, there's appreciably more turn than there was on the first day at Cape Town. I mean, we got excited by one ball at Cape Town. There's been a lot more than that here.
In comes Maharaj. Pushed that one through a bit, I think. Yes, he did. 84 kilometres an hour, 52 miles. 84 kilometres, 52 miles an hour. And onto the back foot went Pope, watching it all the way. Nicely under the eye line. This one's pushed away to Dean Elgar, who is at cover, acrobatically throws himself to effect the stop. End of the over.
One thing I was going to say, that the fact that there was so much turn to the left-handed Ben Stokes from Maharaj bowling over the wicket, I think it's going to be interesting for someone like Joe Denley, because on the final day in Cape Town, he was getting the ball to really spit with his leg breaks to the left-handers. He troubled Elgar, didn't he, in the first innings as well. I think he could be pretty much a secret weapon, irrespective of what Dom Best does, but because he's going to be bringing it out of those footmarks into any left-handers that the South Africa team has got. And Dean Elgar is one of those right at the top.
How ironic would that be if he's batting at number 3? We see a change of bowling, by the way. It's going to be the return of Dane Patterson. No wickets yet from his 9 overs, but
I thought that might be the case.
Only 26 conceded.
Because they're going to save up Rabada, I think, for the new ball.
Yep. Okay.
12 to the new ball.
to bowl a South African. Favourite Ferguson Cullen. He's got a really
Got a barrelling run, hasn't he? Oh, takes the edge and drops just fractionally short of Du Plessis at first slip, who dived away to his right. Genuine edge from a tentative forward thrust from Stokes, and Dane Patterson was within a whisker of claiming his first wicket.
What a
And
big
you
name that would have been for him.
Well,
What a big name.
what a name it would have been. The ICC Cricketer of the Year would have been his first Test wicket as well,
Yep.
wouldn't it?
Yep.
Well, that would be a way to start, wouldn't it? You get crowned ICC Cricketer of the Year, and then you're out to the rookie bowler. That one's left watchfully by Ben Stokes, who knows he got away with one there. We're going to keep seeing, I'm sure, the replay of that edge. It was a genuine edge, a bit tentative from Stokes. And Du Plessis, well, sometimes you just dive forward enough just to get your fingers underneath those, and that one didn't quite do
luckily
it that
he played
time.
it with just enough soft hands to get it to
He
drop
did.
to short.
He did, but South Africa are definitely, as a collective unit, are bang on their toes at the moment, as Patterson is in around the wicket, and Stokes, this ball above the line of off stump on a decent length, and he's able to tuck in behind it and push it away into the onside.
One reason I think he was tentative was I suspect that he saw the ball move, and it did move. He angled it in and he got it to move off the seam, or certainly move off the pitch. And I think the tentativeness was him sort of trying to think through, should I be leaving this? So he didn't really play at it properly, and he did get that edge, and maybe that's what saved him.
Indeed, Patterson's going to be in again, and this is left alone once more outside of off stump by Ben Stokes. He has played 4 ODIs, hasn't he, for South Africa? Best of 3 for 44 in doing that.
Gordon Mark asked a question. He's watching Lloyd Pope, who's a leggy.
Oh yes, of course,
in the Australian domestic T20. A spectacular ginger.
Is
this a paper requirement for all Popes?
Maybe they're distantly related. Who knows? My venerable brother, another Pope, Lloyd Pope. In comes Patterson, right arm around, back foot and squarely in behind it for Ben Stokes, and there's no run.
Well, that Pope, didn't he destroy England under-19s in the last
He
under-19
did.
World Cup?
He did,
yes.
and I think he's been bowling reasonably well in the Big Bash.
And he also got did he get a fifer on state debut as well?
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he is, as they say, one to watch. He's quite young, I think. 161 for 4.
So Pope might have played against each other already.
He's in again, and Stokes just guides this through to mid-wicket. No run. Concludes that Patterson over. One off its, if it was off its first ball, could have taken him a wicket. We're looking at Joe Root, who is looking like a naughty boy, isn't he? Being told off by Graham Thorpe, yeah. And obviously Root didn't like what he was being told, because he's just got up and turned his back on Thorpe and walked away. You should have got a bat on it, probably was the advice he'd been given.
There's the point, of course, that in a future Ashes series we might get a bit of Pope-on-Pope action.
Well, yes, you just never know, do you? You never know. 161 for 4, 2 ginger Popes, as we said.
Some shout-outs from Quick Tracker. Karan Thakar says hi. Vivek says hi. And Chirag Bakani says, any recommendations from you gentlemen when it comes to good books about Test match cricket and autobiographical
Yes,
accounts?
I will tell you in a moment.
He's just finished a lot of hard yakka.
That one was just pushed back down the wicket by Pope. There was no run.
So tell us, Tony, what book did you bring to the house today?
I've temporarily forgotten the name of it. Hold on. As this one is carved away, but out to the covers. The latest Duncan Hamilton book, Cricket, the Golden Age. It's about Neville Cardus, the cricket in the Golden Age, and it is a phenomenally good read. As forward comes Pope to get right on top of any spin from Maharaj. Again, it's back out to cover. Yes, the cricket author Duncan Hamilton, who I will be enjoying interviewing tomorrow for the latest Gorilla Share.
You might not enjoy it.
Well, I hope he might not, but I think I will. As forward comes Pope, and this is away again into the offside, front foot forward. So yes, Neville Cardus. It's a biography of Neville Cardus. It's all about the golden age of cricket, and it's quite terrific read, as this one is back down the track to Maharaj again from Pope. No run. 1 ball left of the Maharaj's 25th over. So again, he's getting through a terrific amount of work. He's around the wicket, and that was Fuller, almost yorked Pope, who jabbed the bat on it just in time. And that is the end of that over. England 161 for 4. 10 overs till that new ball.
Interesting idea, thoughts here from Garth on YouTube. He says, there's no point in batting for 2 days if you only score 300 on a good pitch. Under Vaughan, we were averaging 4 and over, and England was scoring 400-ish a day. We can't win with this attitude. Win or draw only.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I've gone on record. I've said, you know, the trouble with England is when they try to bat time, they quite often go deep into their shells. And, you know, you've got to be able to still rotate the strike a little bit. And England, there were signs that England were trying to do that with the odd quit single, but probably not enough. And I think one of the problems with Denley is he just hits the field too often. I mean, I do think, although some journalists have been denying it this week, I'll come back to this point.
Indeed, as Patterson is in, and Stokes just steps across this to guide it from outside of off to mid-wicket.
Yeah, the point I want to make is that, I mean, not Fred will tell you that there are 15 better batsmen in county cricket than Joe Denley that should be taking his position, whereas a couple of the articles this week have been saying, well, no, he's kind of nailed on this position now, and he's more than a stopgap, and he could go on to have a really good career. I don't think he can. I think he is a stopgap, but he's doing a good job as a stopgap.
Patterson in again, and that one kept a little bit low and squared Stokes up a wee bit, and it rather edgily was played away to mid-off. The Great Romantic, the book is called, and it is about Neville Cardus, cricket in the golden age of Neville Cardus. So it's a kind of it's a combined celebration of the golden age of cricket, where characters were larger than life and almost Dickensian in so many ways, and seen through the eyes of the great cricket writer and broadcaster Neville Cardus. So that would be my recommendation, as this is left alone by Stokes through to de Kock. No run.
Well, I think the tweeter was saying he just finished a lot of hard yakka, which is the Simon Hughes.
Simon Hughes,
the
isn't
first
it?
one,
Yeah.
wasn't it? But
It is the first one.
What
yeah.
was the second one called? It was more hard.
Yakking all around the world.
Oh, Yakking all around the world, which I think was the one I enjoyed the most. There are some pretty good. It depends what sort of thing you want. I mean, that Cardus book that you're talking about, not necessarily for everyone. It's you know, it's about a particular time in cricket. It depends what you want from books. I mean, I tend to like cricket books that make me laugh, and so, you know, I tend to go for things like Penguin Stop Play,
Rain Men.
And indeed have written some, as Dane Patterson is in, and this one is pushed and misfielded at mid-on, so they were able to take a single. Yes, it was sort of Dwayne Pretorius, wasn't it? So he's on as a sub-fielder, isn't he?
Maybe
Pretorius?
Rabada's gone off then, because he came off, didn't he?
He might have exhausted himself with that celebration.
Yeah, that was
giving. It was literally one of those where we just gave it the full throttled raw,
he's almost
pumping his fist,
eye-popping, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It really was.
And he might have maybe burst a blood vessel.
Yeah, well, I would have
in the
thought
process
so, yeah.
of doing that.
Well, it's bad manners to celebrate quite like that in front of the batsman.
Well, indeed, as in comes Patterson, the 30-year-old from Cape Town, and this is just pushed back by Stokes to the bowler.
You've also got to look at Patterson and say, yes, he's 30 years old, but in that 30 years, he's played something like over 100 first-class matches.
101.
And he's got something like 340 first-class wickets. That's a pretty good rate. I think he's averaging around about 24, which is tremendous for an opening
350
bowler.
first-class
350
wickets. Yeah,
first-class
350. What's 10 wickets between friends?
Indeed.
As Patterson is around the wicket and on the drive quite magnificently by Stokes. There's been no one there to stop that. Again, beautiful example of just letting the ball come onto the bat and letting the ball do the work, as he just strokes it away for 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, I think he's a little bit unlucky not to have got forward the previous shot, which was half-fielded. Yeah,
a bit of a half volley. And
but he's got it straight. He's got it straighter than the one that he played 2 balls ago. It was just a little off-cutter, wasn't it? From
textbook on drive, whichever way you would you want to describe that. If in your head you can just picture the still head, just the forward rocking of the body, and the ball played right under the eye line with the bat straight, then and away through mid-on, then that would be the shot we've just seen. Maharaj to take up the attack, and that nearly, it was sort of jabbed at, wasn't it? He'll get himself a run, will Ollie Pope.
Well, he kind of committed
way
himself.
to point. It's not Rabada. Rabada's on the pitch still.
Oh, Rabada's out there.
So Rabada, he's very much out there. So we'll try and figure out for you who.
It's Big Vern, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Big Vern might have gone for a towel down with a copy of the Sporting Life, maybe.
Or Wet Women's Weekly.
A wet. Is that the magazine or the? No, that's not.
Yeah, let's go.
168 for 4. Maharaj, 1 for 44. Again, gosh, they do work, the lad. This one's given some air. It's outside of off, pulled into the onside, but straight to mid wicket by Stokes. So no run.
Yeah, but I think the fact that he's played that shot is okay. He's playing with a spin, which is fine. But he's getting a little bit worried outside off stump how much it is going to jump and spit out of those footmarks. So he's gone on the attack.
On to the back foot goes Stokes, pushes it back to the bowler, way to his left. Again, there's no runs, just 53 miles an hour. He's giving it, I think he's trying to give it a fair bit of air, Maharaj, but he's able to mix it up as well, isn't it? We've seen him, give it plenty of loft and try and drop it in at the batsman's toes. There've been plenty he's dropped, trying to tempt Stokes outside of off stump. There's 3 balls left of this over. There's some heavyweight reinforcements for us, and there's also Pralab. And as Maharaj is going to be in once more, gives it a little bit more air, and that one was I'm not quite sure what happened there. Stokes, I think, was looking to flick it away to the leg side and didn't really get hold of it at all. He's able to enjoy a smile, probably a nod of acknowledgement to a ball well delivered, and a nod of acceptance from Maharaj, who's in again. And this one's on the sweep, and it was straight through Stokes. And he's looking to go on the attack, but that's twice Maharaj, who still has his hands on his head. This one just went on with the arm and was the merest whisker away from the off stump of Ben Stokes as he tried to. He was looking really for the slog sweep, I think.
Well, he does tend to look for that shot quite a lot against Maharaj, but I also think he's doing it because the ball could potentially leap out of those footmarks, so he's trying to play an attacking shot to it rather than get caught.
The final ball of that over, this one, Stokes is onto the back foot. So 168 for 4, England. Pope on 5, Stokes on 17. It's not going the way this afternoon England would have hoped, and to take you through the rest of the story is going to be Pralab.
The best things in life are free. Just like Gorilla Commentary, we need money. That's what I want. .com/Gorilla Cricket. We need money. I don't like the BBC. I prefer Gorilla Commentary. I want money. $20 for the archive. That's what I want. Or just buy a t-shirt.
We do need money, and South Africa wouldn't mind a few wickets here. Right before stumps, you'd say England would not want to lose more than one more wicket before stumps?
Well, I felt they should have had Stokes earlier, not by the rules as they stand, but I think the protocol is wrong. I'll explain in a moment.
Yeah, we did have a chat about that in the green room. You can do it now as Patterson has a long chat with Faf about field placements.
Stokes was given not out on an umpire's call on impact, which to me is not right, because there's no predictive element to that hitting in line, and some of the ball did hit the pad in line with the stumps, not over half the ball, but some of the ball. But unlike umpire's call on the ball hitting the stumps, which is predictive, there is no predictive element to whether the ball hit the pad in line or did not hit the pad in line. And certainly when I was umpiring, my understanding of the ball hitting in line was that some of the ball hit the pad in line with the stumps, not over half or all of the ball, just some of it. And I think Stokes should be out because some of the ball hit in line
We'll continue the South's next delivery. The one slip in place, and this is defended by Pope.
I believe that isn't how the regulation works. I believe that I think it's now 25% of the ball. If it's the rule now is if it's given out on the field, 25% of the ball has to be hitting in line.
There just should be no umpire's call on what is a matter of data fact, which is the ball hit him in line at the stumps.
Honestly, I have some sympathy with that. I think we have a fly slip in place.
We do, yeah. We just noticed that come in. This is driven quite aggressively, but it is fielded in the follow-through. But you're right, we've got a fly strip in place, presumably to prevent an uppercut type shot here. Always the fielder walking across the fine leg was just out of position. We'll notice the South is saying he was. So he was out of position there, so it would have been interesting to see if top edge had gone that way and been given out. I do know a story in club cricket where the fielder was out of position and the batsman managed to successfully argue to the umpire he was in the wrong position and therefore got that decision reversed.
Is it because there were two men behind leg?
No, just once. I'll continue this next ball. It's kicked out beautifully all the way, rolling towards the boundary, but it is prevented by Rabada there. He fields in, they'll come back for 2. He has a bit of a misfield, but they won't capitalise and they'll stick to the 2 runs. More so because the fielder, it was a right-left combination, and the fielder just simply didn't move back to their original fine leg position, which meant they were out of position, and the batsman had assumed the field hadn't changed. So it was like an interesting debate that happened there where the fielder should have moved and was meant to move. The captain thought he'd moved, but he hadn't, and he got caught in the end.
I don't think that's correct.
That's weak umpiring, I think.
Yeah.
Well, the famous off Hayden, which we coined, that position very close to the cut strip, was a fielder not getting back to their position in time.
This next delivery is short of a ball that's hooked away out towards the boundary for one of these.
Very
well
nice
controlled,
yeah,
very nicely controlled. Rolled his wrist over the top of it, all the way along the ground. And that's nicely played by Pope. He's looking good at the crease so far.
But if you can't hit that for 4, a half tracker at that pace, then you can't hit anything for 4.
He played that pretty well. By the way, we saw Dwayne Pretorius, he was on the field. He was on for Rossi van der Dussen, but Rossi's now back on the field. There's some running repairs.
I mean, England have thrown away what was a strong position. They'll aim to rebuild a strong position, and they've thrown it away because their footwork is indeterminate.
As this next delivery is the Fuller, and Pope drives to the relatively narrow-based mid-on, but there is no run there.
And it's funny that the Pope, he's 21 or 22, he already looks to have one of the better techniques, if not the best technique, amongst the top order, because he does transfer his weight properly across the crease. Root was back to a ball that if he played a forward defensive to, it would simply have just been forward defensive back to the bowler, your tweets. But he ended up going back and sort of couldn't get the bat down in time because his feet were locked in the crease.
As this next ball, it just cuts into him, but just shifted out towards the wicket, and there is no run there.
Well, I mean, he didn't really go back properly either. He just sort of got stuck. I mean, certainly Ben Stokes is also very good at transferring the weight forward and back. Yeah, we do have some drinks. England 174 for 4. Neymar Butlins and Beijing Ducks make basically the same joke. With talk of Lloyd and Ollie, Neymar Butlin says, I'm definitely going to watch the 2 Popes now, and Beijing Duck says, there is a film out about the 2 Popes. Disappointingly, it doesn't have any cricket in it. Steve Shipcott...
there's a book coming out by Ollie Pope as well, because that could prove to be controversial.
No.
There is football in it, though. There's plenty of football, but no cricket.
Pope John Paul II was a decent footballer in the day, wasn't he? He was a goalkeeper,
I think he was a goalkeeper.
I think Albert Camus was also a goalkeeper.
Albert Camus was a goalkeeper. Yes. Pavarotti was a goalkeeper.
Sure. Oh. The Fatty Fuchs type of goalkeeper, just a big barrier.
In his young days, he was quite lithe.
Steve Shipcott, not Adam Lithe, says, good afternoon. I have a question about your 4 jingle that goes something like super shut, etc. Where does it come from, or what's it based on? Honestly, I don't know. It's been in there for a very, very long time. P.S. Agree that Denley may be a good stopgap, but in the absence of the Vaughan-free jingle, he is my favourite. Andy Redfern says, this series reminds me of the 1986 Seven Ashes, in that by winning that series, England earned the right to call themselves the second worst test team in the world. Which is a bit harsh.
Shall I give you the jingle he's talking about? It's this one.
With the super shatter, super shatter, super shatter, super shatter, super shatter, rocka, rocka, super shatter.
That's the one. We have some people with us on Cricket Tracker. Shalauddin, Rina Tiwari, Vivek is with us. Karan Thakur is with us. Chirag Malkani says, any recommendations from you gentlemen about when it comes to good books about test match cricket / autobiographical accounts? Just finished a lot of hard yakka. Well, on tomorrow, in fact, Tony Bishop on our Gorilla Show podcast will be interviewing Duncan Hamilton about some of his works, including his book about the thrilling end to the 2016 County Championship season, where we went into the final day of the season with 3 counties potentially capable of winning the county championship. That'll be out. Well, we're recording it tomorrow, and it'll be out shortly after.
I have 3 books that I'd talk about for Test cricket. 2 of them are biographies. Nasser Hussain's Playing with Fire is very good. Mike Atherton's book Opening Up I think is very good, but by far the best book about cricket, one of the best books about life really, is Mike Brearley's The Art of Captaincy.
I would also throw in Beyond a Boundary by C.L.R. James, which is I think What Do They Know of Cricket Who Only Cricket Know is a pretty good philosophy for life and cricket watching.
Yeah, I haven't read that, and unfortunately I think I lent that to Dan Norcross and I haven't got it back yet, so if you're listening, Dan.
Yeah, that sounds right up Dan's street, politically speaking. C.L.R. James and Leary Constantine and so forth, and certainly in times where both in England and South Africa dealing with the aftermath of empire and colonialism and apartheid in South Africa's case, then it never ceases to be relevant.
I just mentioned Leary Constantine there. I know I've said this before, but he was a government official in Liverpool just after the war, and my father saw him play cricket and was very keen to tell us about it.
No, he gave up international cricket to play league cricket in Lancashire, almost the Kolpak of his day, as it were.
I think he was a man with many strings to his bow, only one of which was cricket.
One of very few Test cricketers, I think, who was also a lord. Well, certainly one of the very few West Indian cricketers. There used to be a few back in the day for England.
Yeah, it was Lord Cowdrey.
Lord Hawke. Who made his Test debut at Port Elizabeth. Interesting.
Lord Ted Dexter, of course.
And on YouTube, but we have Gar66. Oh no, we've had that one already, haven't we? We're just seeing a supercut of the wickets. Yeah, Denley was again caught on the crease. He sort of prodded forward and couldn't get his bat down around his front pad. He just was done by one that didn't turn, which is something to watch in Sri Lanka. And then Root was also done by one that didn't really move. Yeah,
a bit of poor footwork there. I mean,
just no footwork really.
Yeah. Just similar dismissals where instead of either forward or back, they sort of retreat almost to square leg, not because they're fearful, but because there's this obsession these days with staying leg side of the ball. When Joss Butler comes out to bat later, we'll see that the feet go nowhere, the hands go at the ball, and then we wonder why he's out for 24.
Certainly do. As the players come back out, you got Stokes re-gloving himself at the moment. De Kock just setting the field a bit here and there with Maharaj. Continue to stay on. He's been bowling well today, Maharaj.
He's bowled beautifully, Maharaj.
27th over in a row.
Yeah,
absolute masterclass in left arm spin.
It's nice to see such long, lengthy innings. I don't think he's actually bowled this many overs in a row before. Particularly in South Africa, as this next delivery just is defended by Stokes for no runs.
He bowled 22 overs in a row in the last Test match. I think he bowled some monster spells in India.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
I think he bowled some long spells for Yorkshire as well when he was there a bit.
And we'll do a little bit this year in the 2 games he's playing, but Ashwin will be taking over from him
afterwards. As Stokes comes down the pitch and finds a gap on the onside, and he will come through for a single.
You can tell Stokes is confident when he's coming down the track to spinners. He doesn't do it all that often, actually. But coming down the track and nudging a single to long on is a sign of someone who's very much in control of their game.
And that's very much the Australian way of coming down the track. Michael Clarke was very good at this. You come down the track not to attack necessarily, but to defend.
Something
taking the ball on the bounce.
Cheteshwar Pujara does it brilliantly, coming down the track and working singles down to long on and into the leg side field.
And the reason for it...
Salim mid-off is also in place as well, as this next delivery just... pushed out all the way on the ground for no run.
Because we often think in England, because of the way spin is often played in England, that if you're coming down the track, you have to be attacking, but you can be defending coming down the track. But you've got to make sure you've got your second line of defence there, bat and pads, because you don't want the ball turning past the bat and then you're stumped. But it's a perfectly acceptable defensive technique in playing a spinner.
Or, I guess more to the point, single scoring.
Oh, single scoring?
Yeah, absolutely. Rotate the strike. Prevent the spinner from getting into a proper rhythm. This next one, he's on the back foot. He's missed it. It's very interesting. A bit of a quick one from Mara, just 88 kilometres an hour, which is about 7 kilometres more than what he normally bowls, but it just bounces. And Pope, a bit indecisive there, goes on his back foot. The ball rushes him completely as it goes straight on, but he managed to jam the bat down, and it kind of juggles up here and there, but misses the stumps.
He somehow managed to middle that. I'm not really sure how.
Yeah, it did not look that good. Certainly the replay made it look a bit better than it was live in action, because it was a very sort of sudden jarring motion that he had. But it's a good sign of him at least seeing the ball relatively well, to know that if there is a variation, he can at least get his bat in there, rather than what we've seen in the past with some of the other players today being out on these types of deliveries. There's this next delivery is cut again. He sort of gave a lot of his positioning away there. He sort of exposed all three stumps. He did manage to cut that quite hard. Yeah. Again, off the middle relatively.
Yeah, I know there's a gap, but Ollie Pope, you are not Rahul Dravid yet.
What I will say is it's good work from Faf du Plessis there, because he put the silly point in, and I think Pope is worried about playing forward and the ball just coming off the face and silly point catching it. So I think he's playing back partly because of that fielder at forward, at silly point, but forward of silly point. And Faf was appallingly off his game in the first session, but has been right on it since lunch.
And at Cape Town, where I think he just completely mismanaged that whole second innings, really. The cricket guy says, we were talking about Dane Patterson's numbers, 350 nearly first-class wickets. He says his real first-class numbers are as follows. I think South Africa has two tiers of first-class cricket, the franchise and the provincial. His real first-class numbers are as follows. 193 wickets at an average of 27.7. The other wickets he's taken are in a semi-professional competition. That's the provincial setup, where the standard of the cricket isn't great. He comes back, because we said, 193 wickets at 27.7 is not bad by any means.
As he comes in, he's left out alone outside the off stump.
He says, not saying they aren't, just giving the real picture. And Dr. Katie Scott says, I think if I was pressed to pick my one greatest hero, there's a good chance I'd go for Leary Constantine. Amazing man.
Yes, he was a polymath, and he was on the right side of history in lots of different ways, and a giant of the game, but as Katie points out, and as I mentioned before, so very much more than that.
Yeah, and a major force in Caribbean independence.
As Patterson comes in, he's pushed out by Stokes. They don't come through for a single, but he's got the right intent there, just looking to push the ball around. There's a single on offer, they'll try to take that, which is important. Just shows the positive intent and the difference that Stokes brings to any kind of dynamic, where you get fielders moving slightly back a few steps, more gaps being created in the field, but it also helps his partner at the other end when the score report is ticking.
I think that's important. It's an important point you make. You do find yourself hanging back a bit, where you would when Stokes is, because he hits the ball so hard even in defence.
We do, as Patterson steams into bowler's delivery, just defended off the front foot, but easily makes its way to mid-off for no run.
I think Stokes is itching to get after Patterson here. He's just slightly concerned about the match situation. We're only 5.5 overs away from the new ball. England have got in and got out, and he doesn't want to be the fifth player to get in and get out. But I think he really wants to start smashing this.
As he has, to be fair, a couple of times, particularly in first innings, he's played some slightly rash shots at times.
Patterson runs into bowl. This delivery is well defended there by Stokes off the front foot for no run.
We're just seeing on screen there is some possibility of rain through the middle portion of this test match. The percentage of precipitation chance is relatively high tomorrow, about 60%, about 40% for day 3, so this game might not be unaffected by weather. Beijing Ducks CC says Stokes is setting up this innings to be big, and Durban Oak says, wouldn't David Shepherd, as the Bishop of Liverpool, have sat in the House of Lords?
I don't think the Bishop of Liverpool sits in the House of Lords. I may be wrong in that. I think I am wrong, because I think he made speeches there.
As Patterson comes into bowl, this delivery just clipped away by Stokes, and they'll run through for a single.
It's very, very clever. It's very good from Ben Stokes. Not a bad ball, just a little bit of use of the bottom hand, close the face, take the single, no risk.
Yeah. By the way, if some of you may be wondering about David Shepherd, it's not the umpire David Shepherd, previously the Gloucestershire all-rounder, famously for leaping about on Nelson and double Nelson and so on. That's David Shepherd, with 2 P's and I think an ERD at the end, who was an England cricketer and subsequently Bishop of Liverpool.
He was the Reverend while playing, David Shepherd.
Comparison to Pope, no slip in place, and this delivery jags in a bit on the jags in a bit towards the leg side. The reason I laugh slightly is the fielder just managed to dive over the ball completely, goes through and covers up the cover, and they'll run through for a single.
I'm not sure he dived over the ball, but he dived long after the ball had gone through the gap. He was never going to
one
get
of those unnecessary dives. The ceremonial dives you often see midfielders go, just missed the ball, or
that's very good placement from Pope.
So how many, we've got a Pope at the crease now, but how many reverends have played first-class cricket, have been reverends while playing first-class cricket? I can think of 2 more in addition to David Shepherd. I think it's Andrew Wing Davey was a reverend when he was playing cricket, and of course there is David Warner. Who's
Oh, there is actually a real Reverend David Warner. I think he's in Manchester. Davis Harrigan says, where do you look, first-class record, the other competition, talking about Pretorius and the 2-tier nature of South African first-class cricket, seems to be taking it in his stride, and this is a big call, reminds me of Callis when bowling.
Well, Patterson reminds you of Callis. You must never have seen Jack Callis
I'm assuming stylistically, I'm not even sure I get that.
Maharaj continues this battle here. This is just pushed out towards middle wicket for no runs.
I remember
still got that silly mid-off in place, so it'll be interesting to see how Pope deals with that this over.
I remember when Callis came to Middlesex, he was probably about 24 or 25 at the time.
As Maharaj comes into bowler's deliveries, down the leg side, it just sort of clipped away towards short fine leg, will run through for a single, bringing Stokes in straight.
And I think sort of Courtney Walsh was still playing county cricket, and there were some others around. And I remember a cricketer being interviewed, and they said, who is the quickest bowler in county cricket? He said Jack Callis. Instantly. And they said, he's quicker than anybody else by some distance.
Yeah, Callis was properly quick in his younger days, and he was quite brisk towards the end of his career when he didn't bowl in short spells.
As Maharaj, this delivery is just picked up by the short leg there for no run.
I mean, not just because he's an all-rounder, but in sort of stylistically with his very front-on action, that slight angle into the crease. Ben Stokes' bowling reminds me of Jack Callis.
As his next ball is on the back foot is Stokes, and Maharaj puts his hand up half-heartedly going, ooh, has he got him? Is he close to getting him into an ill-timed stroke? But Stokes was straight out of the middle of that one and did quite well with that one.
And again, not being able to come on the front foot because of that man catching under the lid.
And this story is just smashed through by Stokes. Beautifully played through the cover, and that is a lovely shot for 4.
There's not one boy for me, I must have 2 or 3, I need 4.
Wow, he thumped that.
I mean, often you talk about timing or power, but in this case, it's kind of a bit of both there, where it's been timed lovely, but the power as well to get to that speed of the boundary.
There's this element of bravery there, because if you watch that back foot goes out.
And this next delivery just catches Stokes in a bit of a tumble. It was leg side-ish, but he just hits his pad and just drops in front of him.
Well bowled, Keshav.
It wasn't a bad ball from Maharaj that got hit for 4. It was into the footholes, but Stokes extended his front leg. It pulled his back leg out of the back foot out of the crease, but he was so confident of hitting the ball and hitting the ball hard, he was prepared to take that chance. And that, to me, is a better chance to take than all this darting about and not really going forward, not really going back. And you know, you've got to be skilled, but you've got to be confident as well to be prepared to get that far forward, because the stumping is in play. But boy, he middled it.
And he's improved that part of his game, getting genuinely forward to the spinners. Because even during the summer, I think Nathan Lyon occasion quite a lot, who was a difficult guy to get forward to because of the amount of air and dip he gets.
Spin,
it's very difficult to pick up the length. But he wasn't able to get on the front foot to him. And even at Headingley in that monster innings, Lyon could have had him 2 or 3 times. But that was a beautiful shot. And the whip of the hands through the ball to generate the power and the timing, superb. Brian Barish says, re-reverence in club cricket. There's a whole article about it, which I've retweeted for you. The cricket guy says, subscribe to Cricket Archive or follow Local Cricket ZA. Cricinfo is not good at differentiating between the 2 first-class formats.
As Patterson steams into bowl, no slip in place right now. This is fended back towards him. New ball available in 4 overs time,
which I guess also explains why Patterson's bowling.
Exactly right. So I'd say Philander and Rabada to take the new ball, or would you go? Yeah, you go.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think the experiment of Patterson taking the new ball, I think was for 1 innings only, and I don't know how much more Test cricket he'll play. But I don't think he'll open the bowling very often. Let's put it that way.
I mean, there is some talk that he's been kind of the man groomed. Obviously, you can't replace Vernon Philander like for like, but someone who can just be accurate.
Accurate there. This next ball is just slightly leg stylish, but finds the fielder.
Obviously, you do have Lungi Ngidi, who's just come back from injury.
Yeah.
Dwayne Pretorius, I think, has not done too badly, I think, in his 2 tests so far. I think he's maybe a little bit light. He's got some work to do. Heinrich Norkia's still warming up down there on the long leg boundary. Maybe he'll have a burst with the old ball, or maybe he and Philander will take the new ball.
Yeah.
Or maybe he and Rabada will take the new ball.
Yeah, I think he and Rabada will take the new ball. Ngidi and Rabada is the future of the new ball for South Africa.
It was clipped straight to that fielder who's been doing a lot of work all today. Picked up a few wickets today at square leg. It's been just a source of a lot of enjoyment for South Africans.
There's almost a slip cordon between square leg and mid wicket, sort of curved round, sort of backward square leg, sort of squarish mid wicket, and catching straight mid wicket.
If you're in the neighbourhood of Wimbledon, at New Wimbledon Theatre in February, there's a production of Cabaret coming, and I think Rassi van der Dusen will be singing Tomorrow Belongs to Me at the end of Act 1.
And this ball is clubbed away over the top of the slip, all the way down for 4.
That was a real jumping cuff of a cut shot.
It was a jump cuff. I actually think you got towards the toe end of the bat rather than the middle.
Top half, really, top edge almost.
You've got such a big margin for error, though, because any kind of bat on it.
Especially at that pace where it's coming to it all the time in the world to get there.
Yeah. By the way, that's no allusion to Rassi van der Dusen's political views, which I have no knowledge of one way or the other. But if anybody looks like they should be singing "Tomorrow Belongs to Me," it's him.
Or "Springtime for Hitler" in the producers.
Or "To Be or Not to Be," amazing scene in the Mel Brooks movie. That he wrote the song. He wrote that song, "To Be or Not to Be."
Some comes into bowl. This delivery, straightened it up really well. A bit of a leading edge there from Pope. But no damage done there. We're trying to see if that ball moved on the seam.
Ollie Pope is now morphing facially into Ian Bell.
There's definitely a bit of that going on. And he may also be slightly moving towards Owen Morgan as well. But Ian Bell's closer for sure.
He doesn't have Morgan's become quite chiseled, and also has those eyes, those incredibly intense blue eyes that look like they're staring into your soul.
This next delivery just pushed off the back foot for no run.
I hate it when they hold the bat up like that. I hope they do shout wait, but I think it's just asking for trouble when you run 2 steps and then hold the bat up.
Joe Root does that. He holds the bat up and says wait, but he holds it up and says wait or no.
Yeah.
You can see him doing it. He has a very loud shout. Neymar Butlin says, total prediction for this innings. I can't get my head round it. No, neither can we. I think that's what made this day so interesting. Certainly the second and third sessions, once South Africa sort of turned up really with the ball.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you have your top 4 all get past 30, you've got to expect at least one of them to go on to get 80 odd, which is why you would expect this to be a kind of 400 par pitch. I still do think it's a 400 par pitch.
Well, it has been. The average first inning score in the last 10 years is over 400.
Yeah, I mean, Maharaj has bowled so well that he's kind of pushed that par down, but
as he comes into bowl, this delivery is short, but no run is found as Stokes just hits it straight to the field out mid-wicket.
He's barely bowled a bad ball. He's made the batsmen make decisions about whether they're going to go forward or back and whether they're going to attack or defend almost every ball. It's been a real privilege to watch him.
And this next delivery turns into him and it's just defended by Stokes, playing a bit more circumspectly than the last over.
Yeah, I mean, he got 2 wickets at the end of that long spell in Cape Town where he was flogged to death. He could end up with only 1 wicket in this spell, but orders of magnitude. I mean, I felt sorry for him at Cape Town. He couldn't really do anything about it, really, by then, but this has been superb spin
great
bowling.
Comeback here from Keshav. This next delivery is just clipped out towards... there's now a long on at the moment, and they'll run through for a single.
It's been a long one since Stokes' first ball.
Yeah, but it's the benefit of the reputation, the 258 he got at Cape Town last time, but also the fact that, as we've already seen, when he drives, he hits the ball so hard. And you see Maharaj there calling in his long on for Pope. So he almost sort of buys himself that single, Ben Stokes.
Next ball is cut away. And there's a gap over there with a deep point, and they'll run through for a single.
I wonder if this is the one over too many at long last for Keshav Maharaj.
Pope has played him better, I think, than anybody else, because what he's doing is he's playing him off the pitch, Pope, because he's a relatively smaller man and his footwork is very, very good, very light on his feet. So when he goes back, he can still get in a good position to play the shot.
Delivery is defended, no run.
Well, he uses that Duncan Fletcher style method. He has that forward press, which means that he can get right forward or spring off there and get right back. Again, sort of Pujara or Dravid style.
Yeah, Dravid's not a bad shout for Pope. He's a similar stature and he's light on his feet as well, so there's something of that for sure.
Or just in terms of using the depth of the crease.
Maharaj's last delivery is Stokes goes on the back foot, but just middles the bat straight to short leg.
When the England one-day team were trying to work out their best method of playing spin, they looked at who gets furthest forward and gets deepest. And the guy they picked out was Rahul Dravid in terms of the difference between how far forward he got and how far back. You remember him cutting off spinners off the stumps. He used to cut Murali off the stumps, basically off the bail.
Yeah, he did.
Getting really deep in the crease, but so quick on his feet was he. And that is something that Owen Morgan and Trevor Bayliss got England to practice. And you saw how Roy in particular took down India's spinners in the group game, and how they played the spinners so much better over the course of that, building that World Cup winning team. The lessons were learned from the best. If you're going to steal from the best.
Yeah, it's just that ability. What you want from your batsmen is you want them to make the length instead of allowing the spinner to dictate length. And if you do use the full benefit of the crease, let's say that's 4 feet and then there's 3 foot forward when you play forward, then you've got a huge margin where you're making the length.
Patterson comes in, straight delivery, that's just defended into what will be his last over, with a new ball due in the over 2 overs after this.
I don't think it's a bad shout necessarily to maybe give Dean Elgar a go with the last over before the new ball.
I think that's a decent call.
There's no harm in it, I guess. You often do get that sort of new bowler coming in and just causing.
And he's skiddy and he bowls wicket to wicket a little bit. We have some ecumenical news. Peter Lloyd says the Lord Spiritual of the 2 archbishops, plus London, Durham, and Winchester, plus the 21 most senior of the other Anglican bishops.
As Patterson comes in, and this is a fuller delivery that is clipped out towards mid-on for no run.
Looking at Shepherd, never reached that level before retiring as the Bishop of Liverpool, but was given a Labour life peerage just after. Durban Oak says, any rabbis or imams who played first-class cricket? Of course, Imam ul-Haq. I know the Pathan brothers, Irfan and Yusuf, their father was a Muezzin. Who they grew up in a mosque, literally.
Yeah, they did. As Patterson comes in, this delivery is just clipped out straight to the fielder, though. Well fielded there by Faf du Plessis, and that is no run.
I would imagine more with rabbis that they may turn to that after a sporting career. There's been plenty of Jewish baseball players. Of course, Mickey Mantle, I think, is perhaps the most famous of them. So.
Sandy Koufax, was he?
Yeah. Whether any of them have taken up the teaching role after their careers.
Well, I mean, there was a Bangladeshi player, still Kamarul Islam Rugby, spelt Rabbi, which we made a lot of fun about when he was playing for Bangladesh.
As Patterson comes in, this delivery is down the leg side, hits the pad, but no run there.
The Islam Rabbi was, again, that would be an ecumenical matter. On Crick Tracker, Manoj Ramani is with us. Al-Said Kakakel is also with us, saying, only commentary, yes, that is what we do. We do commentary for your listening pleasure. And Arthur Patricia says, listening back in briefly, what have I missed? Recalling Jason Roy, are we? Recalling Jason Roy murdering Kuldeep Yadav at Edgbaston, actually, really.
Jason Roy's white ball career rather than his red ball career, over which a veil should be pulled.
Yeah, I mean, he had these odd moments in his short red ball career.
There were a lot of odd moments.
as Pope takes charge. And this delivery is full, hits the pad, but slightly higher and leg side-ish. And Patterson hangs his head, just almost going half having been slightly fuller, slightly more offside-ish.
He got
that wicket.
Sorry, he got a 50 in the second innings of his debut test against Ireland, which is one of the worst Test 50s I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yes, I recall that.
It was when we see the highlights and you go, these were the highlights. How did he bat then? If that's how he scored all those runs.
Yeah, he scored 70 on a run a ball, and just I don't think anything came out of the middle at any point.
Yeah, Patterson, for his last delivery, it's full. It's been clipped past the square leg fielder, and they will come through for a single.
So Ollie Pope avoided the cardinal error of hitting that
Getting
ball
out
in
there.
the air.
Also, they ran 2 there, but he moves to 20 or 42, and England 190 for 4 after 79.
If you burn Ollie Pope in effigy, does the smoke come out black?
Yeah.
Anwar Khan says Syed Ahmed retired and became an imam. He played 1 down and averaged in the 40s in Tests for Pakistan. Closer to the modern day, another Syed Anwar. Post-retirement, didn't become an imam, but is now a well-known preacher. Yes, he had a religious conversion, Syed Anwar, a major religious conversion, going from sort of not particularly observant to very observant after the death of his daughter. Inzamam's gone very religious in his post-retirement days.
He's often Syed Anwar often doesn't get a mention in kind of best batsman of his era, but he really was one of the outstanding batsmen of his era. And some might say he was a precursor of Sehwag, because boy, did he hit the ball hard when he opened.
Yeah, he was a little bit more orthodox, I think, than Sehwag,
Yeah,
but he's just a beautiful stroke player.
He hit the ball hard. Made 194 in an ODI when that was a rare thing indeed.
Maharaj continues his delivery, just defended for no run.
Yeah, he held the record for a long time until Tendulkar scored the first ODI double 100. Fine player, Syed Anwar.
Really nice to watch as Maharaj comes in a fuller delivery. That interestingly enough, Stokes decides to not play with a straight bat, but slightly with a angle bat towards the left side, but he still managed to middle it.
Yeah,
and
it started life as a paddle sweep.
Yeah.
Maharaj's delivery is just pushed out towards the long on for a single by Stokes, bringing Pope to the crease.
Messi Jess is quite rightly upbraiding us. Thoroughly enjoyed your discussion on the way home, but went almost 20 minutes without finding out the score, either individual batting or either individual scores or team. Please call the score at the end of every over. Quite right.
Fair call. As Maharaj comes in, this delivery, and Pope decides to drive this past that sort of silly mid on there, and he'll get a single. 192 for 4, England. A couple of deliveries left till the new ball is due. 2 more deliveries left.
So Pope has 21 and Stokes 25.
Yes, that's fine. I'll do that. I was waiting for the end of the over, but let's see if Stokes stays on his 25. He has at the moment. This next delivery is clipped away for no run, and we will have a change after this next ball for the next team to take us through to stumps, I presume.
Nigel Henderson is looming in the doorway. Is anyone else looming behind him?
There are plenty of loomers. Last delivery is slightly lower, but it's just defended by Stokes, and that is no run. End of the over, England 192 for 4.
The Beijing Duck says at the pace it's going, nothing much has changed in 20 minutes. And yeah, South Africa, actually England have weirdly, despite having lost a few wickets, have scored quicker in this session. That's sometimes how it happens. But this game is suddenly very, very evenly poised indeed, and huge credit to South Africa for the way they've come back from what was a pretty awful first session.
Yes, indeed. It's been a beautiful day at St George's Park. There's not a cloud in the sky. And as Anakal was saying, South Africa come back after England batted through that first session, making 61 for no wickets. A fairly slow progress. As England have tried to speed up a little bit, it has meant that 1 or 2 wickets have fallen.
That was a really interesting graphic they just showed us about the South African spin bowlers since their reintroduction into international cricket.
I didn't see what
Paul
it was saying.
Adams is still the highest wicket taker, only 134 wickets.
Wow. Well, there's going to be no delay. The new ball, the new cherry, is going to be taken, and I presume that means that Maharaj will come off after a very lengthy spell, and that they will have the good sense to give this new ball, as they didn't this morning, to Kagiso Rabada. but initially I think it's going to be given to Henrik Nokia.
Anyway, it's this.
Three balls, please.
Oh, and umpire Oxenford is doing some Alan Knott-like exercises. Just keep himself stretched and supple. And talking of supple, moving in next to me is the Bishop himself. It's Tony Bishop.
The man who defines suppleness.
Indeed, indeed. And on my right, it is Jason G. Hiscox. I am Gorilla Hendo, Nigel Henderson. And we will be taking you through probably until the end. We reckon it's going to probably take about 45 minutes to get through these final 10 overs of the day. At least we probably will get through the allotted number. This is the bowler.
If your number one project is to have yourself a bride, I think I've got your number one guy. He was bought by a franchise when he was buying meat. It's Henrik.
Still makes me laugh, the fact that he was bought by a franchise when buying meat. This is well outside the off stump, left alone by Ollie Pope. And through to the keeper it goes. Those lovely lengthening shadows at this time of the day. This is my favourite time of the day at a cricket match in many ways.
The heat's gone out.
Heat's gone out of the day. And you've enjoyed yourself. You're sort of feeling a little bit sleepy from maybe having a beer or two too many.
Glass of wine.
Or a glass of wine.
You delved into the picnic hamper one time too many.
Too many pork pies. Nokia goes wide on the crease, and Ollie Pope has no interest in that at all. Lets it go through.
Arthur Patricia said there's a great long form article about Islam in Zamam's Pakistan team, the influence of Saeed Anwar and Mohammed Yusuf, conversation, etc. I'll see if I can find it. But then I looked to see if that tweet was linked to other things, and it wasn't. So
it wasn't linked to cheese.
No, it's definitely no. With the cheese is magnificent, Arthur Shear. I'm sure we've told you that a few times.
Have we told you that already?
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
But if we haven't,
thank you.
earlier.
That said, well, you did mention that it was red Leicester with some peppers in, and I thought red Leicester's got enough in it really to not need peppers. That's just a personal opinion. Nokia full and whipped up to mid-on, really pleasantly by Pope. Rabada fields, and he's full of energy still. Thrown back to the wicketkeeper.
And or if you want a county cricket association, it would be in the red Leicester.
Hey, boom boom.
But
he's here all day.
Tony was disappointed that there was also the option of a red wine cheese, but no red wine.
Well, it's just the way you said it, Jason. You know, I'm not criticising the generosity of the gift. You just looked up and said red wine, and I thought, oh, there's some red wine as well.
Nokia bowls, and that's nicely played by Pope. He lets that come right onto him, just gives a little fiddle of the wrists and works it away between slip and gully all the way down to the untenanted, unguarded third man boundary. Now, I've often criticised the fielding of Vernon Philander, and I feel that I've done him a terrible disservice because that athletic piece of fielding that I said was done by Kikizo Rabada was actually performed by Vernon Philander. For him to have that kind of energy at this time of the day is nothing short of phenomenal. He's at mid-on, and we got rid of the gully now. Pap's gone down to third man. A lovely on drive, beautifully whipped away. He was looking for that shot earlier in the over. He's got it right this time. It's consecutive boundaries, 200 up for England. And a very useful little partnership now goes past 50. 52 for Stokes and Pope.
You rather sense, don't you, that these two need to be there at the end, and then England would feel they're just about back on top of things and set themselves up for tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think it's a terrible score from here. Well, it could end up being a terrible score if they had an awful collapse, but I think 200 for 4 isn't a bad score. But as you say, if they were to lose 2 more wickets tonight, it wouldn't look quite so healthy. Nokia bowls outside off stump, and that's glorious from Pope. It's a third boundary in a row as he props forward and just drives this with soft, fluent hands through backward point to the boundary. Well, they do often say that the new ball can bring runs because, of course, it's a harder ball. It goes off the back quicker, and if you play shots like that or bowl deliveries like that, it will disappear when you're in the hands of someone as talented as Ollie Pope. Have we got any tweets to be going on with?
Messages.
He's back!
Well, apparently we'd had to apologise for not giving the score out often enough.
Okay.
I don't know who was commentating then, but they should consider themselves suitably chastised. And we apologised in sort of cod Latin, apparently. Apologies are so much more sincere when incorrectly conjugated Latin. A sofocati, he says.
Well, curiously enough, we're not going to open with Kokizo Rabada, as happened this morning. And it's going to be Vernon Philander, who will share the new ball with Anrik Nokia.
You first get the fear when he strides the pitch. And that look right there tells you he's got the edge. The best you could hope for is to nick over slips off Big Burn.
Here he is into Stokes, who leaves that. He's been hit on the pad. That's worth a shout. It may just be missing. He may have just got his... Well, I mean, it doesn't matter that he's got his pad outside off stump if it was coming back enough. I'm not sure it was coming back enough, but he's going to review it. Faf du Plessis. He's only got one review left. They lost one earlier when they went for a slip catch.
Now this has got to be hitting because umpire's call won't be enough with the decision that's been made.
Yeah. Absolutely. My gut feeling is it wasn't coming back enough. But it'll be a great strike for South Africa if this has been a terrible misjudgment by Ben Stokes. It really will.
Of course, Fern is nowhere near the front line because there's no point in him trying to bowl quick.
Back in. Ooh, I'd be very surprised if that's coming back enough. It's also quite high.
The height might be an issue.
It's hit the back leg. This might give us a better idea. Has he got that back leg outside off stump? That's not coming back, is it? Doesn't matter if he's outside off stump, does it? If it is coming back and hitting, that's out. He could be in trouble. Let's have a look at this. Ooh, maybe not. I don't think it's doing enough. No, it's missing by 2 or 3 inches, I think.
Yes, it is.
So
in the meantime, Jay Kumar says your commentary is the life of cricket.
The life of cricket.
The life of cricket.
We do like to be the life of cricket.
We definitely like that.
Well, so South Africa have lost their Romania review. They have no more reviews. The reviews have ceased to be. England still have both of theirs. Philander is operating to 2 slips and a gully. Just bring you the rest of the field if the camera will pan back enough. It won't initially. Maybe after this ball. Here comes Philander into Stokes. He leaves this one again. And again it goes on that trajectory outside the off stump and through to Quinton de Kock. Philander into only his 9th over of the day, so he's been sparingly used. But of course, even when there's very little out there for him, as the conditions have provided today, he's been very economical. Just 10 runs from 8.2 overs.
56 runs this partnership, isn't it?
Yep.
So they're halfway to the 5th wicket partnership record at St George's Park, England.
Stokes attempts a drive, didn't quite get that as cleanly as he would have liked. I think it's Maharaj running across to his left, mid-off to field, and there is no run.
Seems to have glided imperceptibly to 56 runs in this partnership.
It's one of those, isn't it? It's one of those partnerships, yeah, where they've just, there've been some pleasant shots, to be fair. Pope does look a class act, doesn't he? He's gone on to 33. He's bypassed Stokes. 33 from 49 balls. Doesn't hang around. Helped by those 3-4s at the end of the last over. In again comes Philander, defended on the front foot by Stokes, up towards mid-wicket. And there is no run.
Arthur Patricia says Ireland produces more cheese than red wine, as if we didn't know. So fair enough. It must be said. Glad it was received and enjoyed. It was. And
has it all been hasn't all been eaten?
No, I don't think it's all there. It's all gone.
It's
We've
barely touched the top of it. So
yeah. I hope you just had the rind, and all the really good stuff will be left for me.
So there is no rind. There is wax sealant, but there is no rind.
Wax sealant? No, I'm not really keen on that. In he comes again and flicked away, or looking to flick it away through mid-wicket. There's half an appeal from Philander, as if he thought perhaps that hit bat first, but no one else seems to be interested. In any case, you have no reviews left. 204 for 4. Pope 33, Stokes 25.
Dave Sarah says, did Saeed Anwar convert? And I think here he's talking about religiously, but I might be
not
wrong.
50s to 100s.
No,
Yusuf did.
As it may, Cat Stevens, yeah.
No, Mohammed Yusuf was Yusuf Yohana originally. Yes, you were
who
not
am I
talking
thinking of then?
You're thinking of Cat Stevens, yes.
Yeah, who
became Yusuf Islam.
Yes, thank you. I knew. Yes.
You're getting completely confused. A man's gone back now from mid-wicket to deep square leg. He's about 15 yards in from the boundary. We're going to get a short one here? No. Although Stokes was trying to turn it into that big open space there for an easy single. He actually got a little bit of a leading edge towards extra. And there is no run. That's the end of Philander's over. Was that a maiden? I think it was. England 204 for 4.
Sorry, that wasn't the end of that tweet. It went on. Did Saeed convert? As a kid watching the Bearded Wonder, that was Saeed Anwar. I was always flummoxed by the clean-shaven version in old highlights.
Saeed Anwar was a beautiful batsman, wasn't he? I seem to remember him getting a.
He was in
a
Headingley, blog post I saw for one of the blogs I follow recently about the most dreamy batsman, dreamy cricketers.
Left-hander, yes.
Yes.
Yes, I think I'm pretty sure I saw him get 100.
No surprises in guessing who he was batting at number 3 in that 11.
Javid was a bit early, a bit late, but in that 11 with Saeed Anwar.
Yes, a dreamy 11. It's
a dream 11. Sorry, dreamy 11. Sorry, I thought you were talking about when he got 100. No, we were at cross purposes there. Sweat is dripping off Ollie Pope. I have to say that. Do we know how warm it's been out in Port Elizabeth today? It's been looked like a lovely day, but sometimes in the direct sun it can be a little bit unpleasant.
Jason's jumping on it, our meteorological expert.
Well, Nortje's going to bowl his 14th over. He's got a slipper gully, mid-wicket, mid-on, deep backward square, long leg quite fine, an extra, and I think a man out at deep backward point. Anyway, in he comes, bowls to Pope, the right-hander, who gets well in behind this and steers it up to mid-on, and there is no run. 88 miles an hour there from Nortje.
Pirate Badshah says, I seem to remember some guy out in Lusk produced red wine. Don't know if he's still making it. He also did cider, which I've tried. Lovely. Though haven't seen it for some time.
Cider in cheese?
It's not
or
a bad
just
combo.
cider in general?
Cider in cheese is very nice. He produced cider in general. Whether that was to go with cheese, it doesn't say, but it does go well with cheese.
Just the 26
some
degrees.
cheeses.
Nortje into Pope. A quicker ball there. He just gets behind this one again. Just jabs it into the offside. There is no run.
As I said, just the 26 degrees, but it is 5 p.m. over there.
Yeah, so I imagine it's been a bit warmer in the heat of the day, maybe up to about 30, 28, 30. So that's pretty warm, but not as bad as some places you have to play.
Sharjah.
Sharjah. Perth on occasion.
To say, and very recently.
Pope then waits, looking through the top of his grill, and he's in down the leg side. He tries to help it on his way, but makes no contact.
Don't do that.
Yeah, it's a little bit worrying. Could easily give his wicket away, just getting a little bit of bat on that. You get a little bit of bat on that, and you might get 4 runs for it if it goes fine enough. If it goes too fine, you can very easily be caught by the wicketkeeper. And most batsmen find that an infuriating way to get out. We're into the 83rd over of the day, and Pope is on 33. Nortje is in again, past the umpire. Bowls full, driven, but straight to extra cover. And there is no run. And something has tickled Tony. It's time for Tickle Tony.
No, well, it was only that as Jason was looking up the weather, I knew messages would be simultaneously doing the same thing. To temperature today, 27 degrees, feels like 27.3. The dew point was 21, and the relative humidity 70%. The wind an easterly 20 kilometres.
But that's quite odd, isn't it? I mean, that's quite a high humidity figure, and yet we've seen very little swing today, if any. Nortje in bowls, and just a hint of movement off the pitches. It's short enough for Pope to get in behind and play to extra cover.
Brian Barish says there are good dry ciders that go with good aged cheeses, but they are infusing cheeses with everything these days. Wine, coffee, tea, Baileys. I'm sure there's a cider infused cheese out there somewhere. Perhaps a good cheddar.
Yes.
There is, Brian, because I nearly bought some the other day.
Excuse me. Sorry,
I'll have a DIY wine-infused cheese.
Oh, right. Well, yes.
Or
cider-infused.
Cider-infused
You've
cheese.
done your own mixing, have you?
Yeah.
Norkia then in to complete the over. The bowler Pope. Short one. He pulls. Ooh, didn't pull that very well, to be honest. It may have been onto him a little more quickly than he expected. Whipped it on the bounce round to mid-wicket. But he survives, and England end that over on 204 for 4. We should have a little look at the GPL. I don't think anyone's really
I've had a look at it.
likely. And what's the lowest estimation we have?
Is 263.
I'd be surprised if England get there tonight. You never know with Pope and Stokes out there, but I don't think they're going to be looking to play at that pace.
Durban Oak had replied to, we'd replied to Durban Oak, who wanted to know if any rabbis or imams played first-class cricket.
David Shepherd.
Yes, he did, but I don't think he counts as a rabbi.
He's not a rabbi.
And Phil Buddy sends a link to Faisal E-Rabbi. But I don't know if he was actually a rabbi.
He was just a rabbi by name.
Rabbi by name.
If not by
I'll
occupation.
have a look at his information and see what I can tell you.
204 for 4, 83 overs bowled. Rabada is out there, but he's been dispensed to some outer reach.
You wonder how many, if he's going to get a 2-over spell towards the end of this. After Nortje.
It does seem a little bit odd. I think I'd get him on now. Nortje didn't look particularly menacing, although he was bowling quite quickly. Philander back into Stokes, and Stokes defends the ball just outside the line of off stump, straight back to the bowler, who tries to flick it up with his foot.
I think it was Rabbi only by name.
Right.
He only played 10 first-class innings, this chap. He was born in 1987. He's currently 33.
Do we know any practicing Buddhists that play? I mean, Sri Lanka's got quite a big Buddhist community, hasn't it? And I suppose India has. But do we know of any, I don't know, Buddhist converts who played Test cricket?
A Buddhist?
Buddhist, yeah.
I can't think of any come to mind.
No, but I'm sure if there are, then someone out there will know. All defended by Stokes, and that goes down between his legs from a thickish inside edge, and he stands there a little bit curious as to how that happened.
Strange Carrot says, nice. Pope and St Oaks out in the middle together.
Oh, yes.
A record fifth wicket stand by divine intervention on the cards, perhaps.
The Bear is off. We will see the Bear again tomorrow. And also, who's on tomorrow? Well, we've got some wonderful people on tomorrow. We've got, do you remember there was some woman who used to come in? What was her name? It begins with an A.
Oh, I know who you're thinking of.
What a nice woman. She was quite pleasant.
Yeah.
Sort of down West Country somewhere.
Comes a long way.
Yes.
You don't see much of her these days in the...
Big Glamorgan fan from memory.
Yeah.
He's spending a lot of time there watching 100-ball cricket.
Indeed, so she'll probably be more insulted by being called a Glamorgan fan. Inside edge from Stokes goes down to long leg, and they take a single. Yes, we will have the wonderful, the lovely Annie Chave back with us tomorrow. She'll be here for a couple of days. Can I mention your special guest?
He needs to finally confirm, but I'm hoping
right.
Paul Smith, the former Warwickshire all-rounder, winner of a treble for Warwickshire, and author of the splendid book Wasted, may well be joining us to do some commentary and tweeting and generally just muck in for the day.
Well, you've just made me think about something we could talk to him about. I want to talk to him about Bob Woolmer, because Bob Woolmer is my favourite cricketer of all time.
And he
was the coach of that.
He absolutely
94.
was. And when Woolmer retires, one of the reasons that Paul Smith gave up.
Jabbed by Pope into the gully. They thought there might be a single there, but they just decided that probably wasn't, and wisely stayed at their respective ends.
Not retired, left Warwickshire and moved on to other things.
Of course, to become South Africa coach is one of those things.
Dave Perry says, what are we saying is a good score on this pitch?
Well,
350 and up.
I don't think there's
much
there. I don't think there's much there for the seamers at the moment. I think you're probably going to need a bit of extra pace or a bit of extra inspiration to get wickets as a seamer. So the likes of Wood, perhaps Stokes, might be your best bets. From an England perspective, this is Foolish, defended on the front foot. Lovely, confident defensive stroke by Pope to extra cover.
I also think the extra bounce perhaps from Broad might be helpful as well.
But he's not bouncing that much, is it? I mean, it's slow. It's a slow pitch. I think the big discussion point is going to be spin. Maharaj has already got it to go a little bit, or more than a little bit today. And as this pitch wears, it's unusual for pitches to get better if they're already giving spin on the first day. So I think if England can get 300, they're in a good position here. Here's Philander again. 2 slips in the gully. Goes wide on the crease this time, which is unusual for Philander, who likes to stay close to the stumps, but this time he bowls. Nonetheless, the result is the same. It's left alone by Pope, who signals to the dressing room for a drink.
Right, well, I can get a few more tweets in. Paul Newton's clearly no Rabada fan. Sorry, I beg your pardon, no, not a Philander fan.
Oh, okay.
So his reflection on how lazy Fat Boy Philander is, takes the new ball instead of Rabada and Nortje and does nothing with it for all four overs this morning. Changes ends, does nothing at a push, might bowl 12 overs today. What a guy. So clearly not a fan. Little harsh, I think.
I think it's a bit harsh.
Very harsh. Arthur Patricia, England top 4 made 132 combined on a pitch that gives every indication of being an A14 brackets a slow road. So South Africa's day. Okay.
No, I don't agree with that.
Patricia, I'm not sure I agree with that. Jeff Perkins says, careful, Tony. Careful, Tony. If you dismiss someone else's ecclesiastical qualifications as being merely nominative, you may draw undue attention to your own status and ours. I will heed your advice, Jeff, as ever. Chris Paul, save Withy Bush Hospital.
Hello.
Says Dilshan converted to Buddhism. So there's an answer for you.
But Dilshan was Sri Lankan, wasn't he? I mean, there is a big Buddhist community. I mean, I think it is the main religion in Sri Lanka, isn't it?
And indeed, no, I don't think so.
I think Buddhism is the leading religion in Sri Lanka, is it not? Can we check this out, people?
Tell us, Twitter. We would have to look. John Yelton says the same thing. Tilakratni Dilshan converted to Buddhism.
Okay. Nortje will continue. 14 overs, 1 for 45. Bowling to Stokes, left-hander, right arm over the wicket. He's in, bowls, and the ball comes back into him, and he's going to take a quick single because there's acres of open space on the leg side. It means that the man at mid-on has to jog round to field. We look in the outfield at a rather, sullen-looking Kakiso Rabada, as if he thinks he should be on at the moment. And perhaps he should.
Bob Dom was replying to Paul Newton and going, you obviously know nothing about cricket. So he was... So a disagreement there. One who really doesn't have a lot of time for Vernon Philander. Someone else who, like us, felt it was... Mr. Newton was just a tad harsh, but obviously entitled to his opinion.
Of course. Hasn't impressed today, but it's not really been his sort of day. This is defended up to mid-on. There's been absolutely no movement in the air for any of the seam bowlers today, or swing bowlers. And as a man who wobbles it beautifully when he gets in close to those stumps, that's taken away his biggest weapon, I think.
Indeed, you're right. Well, Paul Newton, in his defence, is actually there sitting behind his arm. He said what he did 5-10 years ago is not relevant. If we were tolerating this from Jimmy, I would be crying out for a bowling change, and I'm sitting right here behind his arm, by the way.
Well, bouncer bowled, and Pope gets underneath it. I understand your point to a certain degree, and it does seem odd that Rabada has been missed with both new balls. It has to have been something that's been discussed in the South Africa dressing room, surely, because otherwise it's a no-brainer, isn't it? You would always open with a new hard ball with Rabada. But for some reason they've decided to go against that. Whether that's they think that Patterson is going to get some swing. Well, as we've seen, nobody's getting any swing today. Oh, now what's happened there? He drove a little bit loosely at that. Did Pope. I guess got it on the thick inside part of the bat, and it ran to mid-wicket. But I can understand why there was a sort of sharp intake of breath from Tony beside me, because it just looked for a moment as if it got through bat and pad.
Well, I'm glad you saw that. I thought it got through him.
It kind of disappeared into a shadow, didn't it?
Like it did with Root earlier, but yeah.
Yeah, this one, I think, really, actually, I have to concur with Gary. Root should have been forward to that, shouldn't he?
Yes, but he was sort of neither forward nor back, was he? It was all a bit indeterminate.
Well, yeah, but you wonder why, really. Driven by Pope. and he's going to get 1 out to the man patrolling the cover boundary. England moved to 208 before. Going back to Philander, yeah, I mean, it's not been his day. I imagine that's why he's not bowled that much, is simply because Faf has thought to himself, it's just doing nothing for him. I mean, he can hold an end up.
The other reason is that Maharaj has done such a good job at holding one end up that he's had no need to bowl him.
Yeah, and Maharaj is the man who's looked like getting wickets, if anyone has.
30 overs for 54, that's impressive control.
Yeah, and he might be a little bit unlucky not to have got another wicket from that. Rabada has got the best figures of 241, which makes it all very strange indeed, really, that he hasn't perhaps bowled a little bit more. He may have something to do before the end of play. But it has to be, doesn't it? There has to be something. It's definitely a tactic, whether it's the right one or not, that Rabada is not using the new ball in this, certainly in this innings. It's some sort of strategy.
Oh, yeah.
I can't work out what it is.
Well, they seem to be wanting to go for more raw pace, don't they, with Patterson, Rabada and Nokia, all of whom offer an extra...
Patterson a little bit quicker, I suppose, yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, short, pulled by Stokes. Is there anyone out there? No, there isn't. That's a very well-directed shot. It's gone behind square. There was a man at deep mid-wicket, but he won't get round. It's 4 more.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So... Oh, we're going to have a change? We're going to have a change? We've only... How long have we got to go? All right. Well, Gary's, I think, down to do ball by ball. Oh, is he? Where's Fred? Is he still here? We'll get Fred in to do the last few overs as well. Then actually, let's get Fred. He's coming. We'll get him to do ball by ball if he's still out there. Is he? What's the matter with people? Now, Stokes plays an odd shot to that one. Just trying to clip it away into the onside with a vertical bat. Makes no contact. It goes through the keeper. That is the end of the over. Okay, we'll take a break. Who wants to stay in? Of you two? Do you want to stay in, Jason?
No,
Tony, you can stay. All right.
Okay, can do.
Okay.
I'll keep reading tweets then while this happens. Let's stay here. Jeff Perkins says 70.1% of Sri Lankans were Theravada Buddhists, 12.6% were Hindus, 9.7% were Muslims, mainly Sunni, and 6.2% Roman Catholic and 1.4% other forms. And he even states his source, which is the 2011 census. Dr. Jonathan Lowe says, yep, Buddhism is a major religion in Sri Lanka. There is a temple of the tooth, where they think one of Buddha's wisdom teeth is held in Kandy.
Fascinating.
Yeah, well, there you go. Mia Katie. Hello, Pralab, by the way. It's the first time we've been on together for what seems like forever.
Has been. Well, certainly this time, first time this year.
No, there seems to be an argument about who's doing ball by ball. So, shall I just take us through this
Yeah,
over, and if no one appears,
off.
you do the next one, and we'll take it from there. As this one is in and full and pushed away into the onside, there is no run. So we've got 5 overs remaining left today, not 7. That was, of course, Big Vern, as Knuckle has appeared.
He has won the battle, the duel. He's bleeding a bit.
112 for 4 the score. And Knuckle will take up the story for you.
Thank you, Tony. Vernon Philander, hitherto wicketless, and this is his penultimate Test match, of course. We will not be seeing Vern in South African Test colours after this series, although, of course, he will be gracing Taunton for the next 3 years. He's in, wobbles this one onto Oliver Pope's off stump, and he blocks this into the onside. There is no run. England 212 for 4 in the 83rd over. Ollie Pope 34, and has looked very fluent indeed off front and back foot. Ben Stokes on 31 and has looked his usual solid, almost colossal self.
Steve says Buddhism is the main religion, yes, amongst the Sinhalese Sri Lankans. Pirate Badshah, changing subject back to a previous conversation about red wine or cheese or the other, but apparently whoever was making it is still making it.
Philander in, a little bit of movement away from Pope, who covers this up nicely, blocks to mid-off. There is no run.
It was wine at CelticWhiskeyShop.com. He's put in the link, and it's a Cabernet. So there you go.
Oh, the cheese, by the way, Arthur, it was delicious. I had some of the chili red Leicester, which I do like. It's from the Snowdonia Cheese Company, who I'm a big fan of anyway. But they also make a very good, I think it's a whiskey and ginger flavoured cheddar, which is very nice indeed. I can thoroughly recommend that. They often sell it at the, it's a bit late obviously, but the South Bank South Bank Christmas markets. I think you can get them online too. Two slips in the gully in for Philander. Pope plays this from the crease. Stokes wants the single, but he's sent back quite rightly. Dean Elgar freezes in throwing motion at cover. There is no run.
Mandla Sambo is sending us, he's replying to the comment about Philander, and it does say it's an idiotic tweet, so he's not in favour of that point of view.
Yeah. Yes, there have been questions over Werner Philander's fitness through the latter part of his career. There were in 2017, where in South Africa were in England, but there's no doubt he's one of the best bowlers of the modern era. Philander in a little bit of movement away, then a little bit of movement in, but the movement in was after the ball had passed the stumps, left alone by Pope, through to Quinton de Kock, who takes it low, just above his ankles. There is no run.
Beijing Duck CC send us a picture of the Pope and his squad, which looks like a choir for the Vatican CC. It's clearly not, but it's a nice idea.
The Vatican Cricket Club does exist. They play. It's mostly composed of sort of Sri Lankan and Australian and Indian priests. I think that actually.
No, I'm lying. It is the Vatican cricket team.
Yeah.
With His Holiness Pope Francis.
Yeah.
I will take it absolutely all back. I thought it was a joke. It's not.
Full delivery and clipped very nicely by Ollie Pope. He's taken that from off stump and just a little close of the face with the bottom hand, and it races away through mid wicket for 4. Beautiful shot by Ollie Pope. He gets an appreciative nod from the ICC Men's Test Cricketer of the Year. Ben Stokes moves to 37. Ben Stokes is on 25. England 204 for 4.
Sorry about that, Beijing Ducks. I didn't, because it was only when I opened the tweet in fully, as it were, that I saw the caption to the picture.
Yeah, they played against the Authors a couple of years ago, the Vatican CC.
There you go. Jeff Perkins says, so Buddha was one of the first to learn that candy can cause you to lose your teeth.
Oh, very good.
Very good.
Yeah, there's an unfortunate coda to that Dilshan converting to Buddhism story. When they were playing Pakistan a few years ago, Ahmed Shehzad sledged him by saying that he would burn in hell for being an apostate, which is not great. We do have a change.
Like Clovis.
Well, quite. We do have a change at the Park Drive end. Replacing Andrich Nokia is this man.
He's a high roller, rock and roller, scariest, deadliest, killingest bowler. He can sink your oats like the spelling from.
In comes Kaiser Rabada. Stokes walks across way outside off stump and tries to thrash that off the back through the offside. Has no idea where it's gone. Where it went was off the bottom part of the bat and all on the ground to slip. But Stokes being very adventurous to no real end. There is no run.
Chris Ball, saved Withybush Hospital, says the best cheese is from Senath Cheese. Their cheeses have won awards in France. Snowdonia is very good, but these guys are better. And he's kindly sent the link to
excellent
Kaus Senath Cheese, Welsh artisan cheese.
2 slips on the gully as Rabada bowls across Ben Stokes, who just Kane Williamson style lets it come to him and then plays off the defensively proffered face of the bat on the bounce to gully. There is no run.
James Roy on Crick Tracker. You could read this one of two ways. It could be My Life Cricket, or it could be My Life Cricket. So either cricket is it's an explanation about cricket, or cricket is indeed James's life. Let us know which.
Or both.
Or both, James. Indeed, or both.
Kaiser Rabada 2 for 41 dismissed. Dominic Sibley and Joe Root bowls to Ben Stokes. Back of a length and off the inside part of the bat. This comes as Stokes tries to force again into the offside. Dribbles up to mid-on. There is no run. Rabada's finding a little bit of life out of the pitch with this second new ball. The odd one's just coming through that little bit quicker than Stokes is expecting.
I'm still surprised he didn't take the new ball.
Yeah, they gave Andrich Nokia a go, just 3 overs. Worth a go, I guess. Rabada had just had bowled a spell more recently than Nokia. He might have been just letting him recover a little bit, but Nokia wasn't particularly effective. Short ball, Stokes tries to force off the back foot and again mistimes it. Well fielded by Dean Elgar, who's been very busy in that short cover region. There is no running. And also took a very good catch at backward square leg come leg gully to dismiss Zach Crawley.
England 216 for 4. You'd say it's England's day, provided the next 2.5 overs go as planned.
Yeah, if they get to stumps 4 down, I think it's probably England shading it on points. Obviously, they've not scored very quickly at any point today, but they've done some work that might be rewarded tomorrow. Rabada in full, and Ben Stokes tries to drive this again. The inside edge in play, off the thick inside edge onto the boot, and rolls into the offside. Faf du Plessis puts hands to head. Kaiso Rabada turns back to the end of his mark.
Yes, again, the ball not really coming onto the bat as quick, probably, as Ben Stokes would have liked there, I don't think.
No, indeed. No sign of a night watchman padded up. It's hard to tell whether Jack Leach is padded up or not.
Mark Wood is sitting there with a football. I'm sure he's not going to be allowed to do much with that.
Rabada back of a length and clipped by Stokes into the leg side. This was a little bit too straight, and Peter Milan has to come around from mid on to field. They come through for a single. No, indeed, Ashley Giles has said that Fußball ist verboten.
Well, so what's the football doing in the dressing room? And worst of all, the bowler with the greatest injury doubt is the man sort of caressing it.
What I liked is that obviously you're not going to use Mark Wood as a night watchman. A, he's too valuable as a fast bowler, and B, he's quite a bit of a dasher with the bat in hand. He's in shorts, t-shirt and flip-flops. England 217 for 4. 3 overs in theory left, or it probably will get them in actually.
5. There were 5 overs left 2 overs ago. So I think they probably would get those in, wouldn't they? Would be surprised if they didn't.
87 overs bowled in the day. Keshav Maharaj, of course, bowling that very, very long spell that stretched probably about a session and a half. What did he bowl? 30 overs in a row at the duck pond end. Has obviously sped things up. And speaking of which, no rest for the highly effective. Here he is.
There's a bowler there from South Africa.
In comes Keshav Maharaj. Stokes forward and clips this out past the left hand of the man at straightish mid-wicket, out to the leg side sweeper. They come through for a single.
I like the song. It's a nice little memory of a good old play school back in the day.
Australian version of Play School, because I think there's a different kids show here called Play School, which has a different theme tune. Right. Maharaj in slip, and Peter Milan at that sort of wide on Hayden come straightish extra cover. It's defended to that man by Ollie Pope off the front foot very solidly. Flicks the ball back to Keshav Maharaj. There is no run. Stokes and Ollie Pope. The orangery combines to have a little bit of a glove punch mid-pitch.
There was an alternative version of the Play School song.
Maharaj in gets this one to drift into Ollie Pope's middle and leg stump. Pope defends solidly. Back to the bowler, there is no run. It's young Zubair Hamza at slip, so Faf is probably lurking somewhere in the short mid-wicket region. Try and bring you the full field when I can. Maharaj in, 4th ball of the over. This one turns a little bit and squares Ollie Pope up a bit. That back foot comes round in a pale imitation of Yunus Khan. Pope blocks back to the bowler, there is no run.
It wasn't very appropriate. It was just one of those schoolyard rhymes. It went along the lines of, there's a bear in there with hand grenades.
Wow.
Stories to tell, open wide, commit suicide.
This is something about the bear we don't know. Outside off stump, and Pope defends to Dean Elgar at catching extra cover. There is no run. Faf du Plessis has set his fields well for Keshav Maharaj, which he certainly didn't do at Cape Town at any point. This has been an order of magnitude better in terms of on-field captaincy from South Africa's veteran captain. Nicely bowled by Maharaj to finish the over. Draws Ollie Pope forward, but he smothers any potential spin. Defends to Peter Milan in that short catching position. England 218 for 4, 2 overs remaining of what's been a very interesting day 1 of the 3rd Test at Port Elizabeth.
We are fully up to date on all platforms. Communication-wise,
a lot of, as Gary was saying in the green room, it's a slightly odd-looking scorecard. Crawley 44, Sibley 36, Denley 25, Root 27, Stokes 33, Pope 38, and Joe Root faced 46 balls, the fewest of any England batsman. Everyone else is over 50, 2 over 100. one of those pitches where, because perhaps of the fact it's not particularly quick, you're never quite in. Kaiso Rabada into Ben Stokes, who defends this with incredible power and timing, really, to Peter Milan at straightish short mid-wicket. And there is no run. I think that's one of those defensive shots that if it misses the fielder by 2 yards, screams to the boundary for 4.
If we were to lose a wicket now, would that be the close of play, or
no? It'd only be in the
it's only in the last over that applies. Yes.
Yeah, I imagine that Dominic Bess is padded up somewhere in the England dressing room. It seems unlikely that Butler would be risked at this point with this current England setup. This is outside off stump and loses all momentum and interest as it goes towards Ben Stokes, who blocks this to cover. There is no run. We're seeing a split screen of Ben Stokes' stance to the Kaiso Rabada when he's bowling over and round the wicket. Obviously from round the wicket, with the angle coming into him, he's opened his stance a bit more, much more side on when Rabada is over the wicket. So adaptability from Ben Stokes to the various challenges that South Africa's premier fast bowler is causing for him. He plays this nicely, actually, as it doesn't quite gum onto the bat, and going deep in the crease just nudges this out to Keshav Maharaj, I think that is, on the deep mid-wicket boundary. They come through for a single. Stokes to 34.
Dominic Bess was to have to appear. He's coming off the back of a pair, isn't he? Which he bagged at Cape Town. Won a Golden Duck. Survived 8 balls in the second innings before falling to Nokia, caught behind. Yeah, in fact, he was caught behind on both occasions, wasn't he?
0 for 2 off 9 balls. Does have a little bit of Test match pedigree with the bat in the lower order. Against Pakistan on debut, he scored some runs. 2 steps on the gully for Rabada, back of a length, hurrying Pope a little bit, but he plays this nicely off the back foot up to Werner Philander at mid-on. There's usually a single to Werner Philander, and Pope moves to 39.
It was that tricky point where you go that a few overs left before stumps, and I don't know, like, you'd hate to be that batsman in that situation, just about to walk out and go, no one get out, or if you get out off the last ball at the end of the day's play, you know it's going to be replayed, it'll be talked about overnight.
Particularly if you end up getting a subpar first innings total.
Yeah.
Can make you probably more defensive than you need to be. Rabada in with that glorious rhythmical run. Stokes has taken on the pull shot. There's no one out there in front of square, so it's a safe enough shot. A big clap from Faf du Plessis as Stokes is drawn into an aggressive stroke, but he got it well in front of the sweeper at deep square leg for 4.
And if you kids can't listen, then you bound to see the way you get shot for crossing a boundary,
It did climb on him a little bit. He wasn't in full control of the stroke by any means, Ben Stokes, but unlike some of England's bats with the right-handed openers, in particular Crawley and Sibley, he went through with the shot and went up and in front of square to make sure that there was no danger of picking out a fielder. What will KG Rabada come back with? Last ball of his work for the day is a faster bouncer, a straighter bouncer, which Stokes ducks through to the keeper. There is no run. 2 for 48 in his 17 overs today, Kaiso Rabada. His first spell was, economical on paper, but really unthreatening. But since lunch, he, like the rest of the South African bowlers, with the possible exception of Dane Patterson, has been very, very good. 1 over left of day 1 of the third test at Port Elizabeth, England 204 for 4.
Beijing Ducks saying loving the fact that 90 overs will be bowled today. Maharaj bowling an impressive third of them. Yes, he has.
But it takes
an effective workhorse.
But it takes a spinner bowling 30 overs in a row to be able to get up to 90 overs. Daniel Gallen and I talked a little bit about the possibility of mandatory 4-day tests. One thing we didn't cover is that how on earth are you going to get 98 overs in a day, 4 days in a row? You're going back a very long time before to that being a regular thing in Test cricket. Last over of the day, 3 men round the bat. Fast brought in a leg slip as well as a slip, and the slimming off, or sort of silly point in front of square. This is into the pads of Pope, and he blocks this back to the bowler. There is no run. I think it'll be prop and block from Ollie Pope here for the remainder of the day. This one's held back a little bit by Keshav Maharaj. A little hint of turn, and Pope defends off the outside part of the bat on the bounce to that man at silly mid-off. There is no run. We're way, way short of anyone's GPL entry, so we don't need to worry about that for today. The lowest entry was 263, so we'll have a rollover. Oh, that's very similar to the ball that got Joe Denley. That one skidded on, just maybe hit the leather rather than the seam, skidded on and kept a bit low, but Pope, unlike Denley, managed to get back down and keep it out. On the bounce to silly mid-off, there is no run. This pitch could be very interesting indeed come day
Especially
4.
with a bit of rain coming in to spice it up.
Maybe, yeah. Maharaj goes wider on the crease and draws Pope forward, but he defends solidly. Back to the bowler, there is no run. 2 balls left in the day. Will Faf du Plessis bring in another man close into the bat? Dean Elgar is at leg slip. I think it's Peter Milan at silly mid-off and Zubair Hamza at slip. Penultimate ball of the day, Maharaj in, tosses this up outside off stump, well left by Ollie Pope, lets it go through to Quinton de Kock. There is no run.
I'll wait until the end of the over just to read a final tweet, because it's quite tickled me.
Last ball of what's been a very interesting day 1. Keshav Maharaj balls very round arm Jadeja style, trying to slide this into the pads of Ollie Pope, but Pope was equal to the task. Blocks into the onside. He'll remain 39 not out overnight. Ben Stokes will remain 38 not out overnight. Keshav Maharaj 1 for 55 in 32 overs. What fine work he's done today. His figures do not reflect by any means how well he has bowled on this day 1. England make it to stumps at 224 for 4. They started very well with Dominic Sibley and Zach Crawley putting on 70. We'll go through the full card, but then there was a bit of a wobble in the middle session and in the early part of the evening session, but Ben Stokes and Ollie Pope have put on 56 for the 5th wicket, scoring at just over 3 and over as well. Ollie Pope in particular was much more fluent than any of the other England batsmen and has just halted the mini South African charge. And England, I think, won day 1 on points.
It's hard to say because you do need to see both sides batting on a track. I would have said at 61 for no loss at lunch, England had built a platform. They would have been disappointed to lose 4 wickets between lunch and tea, but probably delighted not to have lost any more between tea and the close of play. So I'd say it's close to honours even. England will feel a little bit happier given that they went wicketless in that last session.
You're looking at minimum 350 at the moment for England.
Yeah. Oh well, one would think. I think probably 375 should be where they're aiming at. In fact, they actually only lost 2 wickets in the second session, but South Africa really did come back into the session. They lost 2 wickets in the final session as well. So the scorecard: Dominic Sibley was the first to go, caught by Dean Elgar very well at leg gully after bowling of Kaisa Rabada with that leg side trap set. Sibley unable to keep the ball down from one that rose into his ribs. He went for 36 off 95, another very dogged innings by Sibley. Zach Crawley looking more and more confident through his Test career, but fell short of a maiden 50. 44 he made off 137 before being caught again backward a square on the leg side. A very good diving catch by Rossi van der Dussen off the bowling of Anrich Norkeer. There was sort of hang in there period of play immediately after that, sort of in the middle part of the second session between Joe Denley and Joe Root. Joe Denley was done by one that went on with the arm from Keshav Maharaj. He held it for the one that turned. It just skidded on, and Denley couldn't get the bat in front of the back pad and was revealed on review, which Maharaj didn't want, but Faf and Quinton de Kock did, to be LBW, who went for 25 off 100. Another fighting but not prolific innings from Joe Denley. And Joe Root, who'd looked a little bit scratchy throughout his innings, in truth, was bowled neither going forward or back to Kagiso Rabada. Off stump was taken out. At that point, England were 148 for 4 and had lost 2 wickets for 15 in 3 and a bit overs, and could have wobbled and collapsed. But Ben Stokes and Ollie Pope came together, and with Ben Stokes' solidity and Ollie Pope's relative fluency, have taken England to stumps at 204 for 4. 204 for 4, 224 for 4. As we say, Ben Stokes and Ollie Pope putting on a very decent stand indeed. Cricinfo is a little bit behind, so I can't actually tell you what they finally ended on day 1. But with what did they enter? Ollie Pope 33 No, that's definitely not right. Anyway, I'll get the full scorecard in a second. But why don't we wrap up some final social media messages?
Just one more, or a couple actually, but I'll read one of them from Lennox Lear. I'd like to stand in, then it's really in replying to the picture of the Vatican cricket team. I'd like to stand in the slips of these guys and sledge them. Oi mate, did you know that Genesis is made up of 3 different pre-Christian creation myths? What's up with that? I should imagine you can have a bit of fun doing that. Oh, the Beijing Ducks says, watching Ben Pokes and Ollie Stope tomorrow will be fun. And the Beijing Ducks are asking, did you have 223 in the GPL? I don't think we did. I think everyone had gone higher.
Yeah, the lowest was 263, so it will be a rollover. There's £57 in the GPL tomorrow. That will be open for the first session. Yeah, Ben Stokes 38 not out off 86. Ollie Pope 39 not out off 79. The bowling figures, all bar Dane Patterson really on debut, impressive. He and Vernon Philander weren't wicklers. Philander was pretty economical as he always is, but not as threatening as usually he is. 9 overs, 5 maidens, none for 10. Dane Patterson, who slightly surprisingly took the new ball first up today, 15 overs, 1 maiden, none for 46. Kaiso Rabada, 15 overs, 3 maidens, 2 for 41, was made to come on first change with both. In fact, second change, with the second new ball, but first change with the first new ball, unusually for him, and I suspect with Philander retiring soon, they won't have much of that for much longer. Heinrich Norkier, 14 overs, 3 maidens, 1 for 45. And Kesha Maharaj, an absolute stalwart today, 30 overs, 10 maidens, 1 for 54, and bowled quite a bit better than those figures suggest. There were 14 extras, 8 leg byes, 3 no balls, and 3 wides. It only remains for me to say thank you to everybody who's been in today. Thank you to Pralab Gupta. Thank you to Tony Bishop. Thank you to Hendo. Thank you to the Bear. Thank you to Not for a Titmus, who was in briefly. Thank you to Jason Hiscox. Thank you to Gary Naylor. Join us tomorrow at 7:50 a.m. UK time, 9:50 a.m. South African time for day 2 of what promises to be another fantastic Test match. Till then, from everyone here on Gorilla Cricket, bye bye.